Happy Hour Friday. It begins right now. The Sports Bash live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and watch the show live. Video streaming on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel and at Mike Gill Show on the Twitter X platform. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. You out there, we've got a lot of fun today. Phil's in action. Andrew Painter is on the mound. We'll give you an update on Painter. We also have some Eagles news. They made 2 signings yesterday. How it impacts the Eagles' 2026 season. Plus, the Sixers bombed last night. Okay, on to the Flyers. Flyers won last night. The Flyers are making things interesting. We'll explain coming up a little bit later on in the show. March Madness. We are within a week to the madness, but the madness is beginning. Villanova bounced last night by Georgetown. Wild stuff in the Big East. Also, good guest today, Jeff Kerr, Jeff Kerr, 97.3 ESPN. You would think, I know Jeff Kerr used to be at CVS and now he's with us. You would think I know that, but I misspoke. Jeff Kerr, 97.3, not Jeff Kerr, formerly of CBS Sports. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Caplan has football at 4. Nuggets Unsportsmanlike. Where do we begin today? Well, I'm going to start with the news the Eagles made yesterday, last night really it was, when this kind of thing came down. So Jonathan Jones is a veteran corner, which, I get it. They need some depth at the corner position because Ringo can't be the guy, obviously. You got to kind of move on from there. The other thing is that, Dory Jackson most likely is not going to be back. I would imagine that he is moving on. So you'll have Woolen, DeJean, Mitchell, and now Jonathan Jones, who is a veteran player and can handle that position. So I definitely think that they are looking to upgrade that position of cornerback opposite Quinyon Mitchell. They looked at that as a problem last year, and they added some veteran help. Now, this guy's a veteran. He's 31, 32 years old, played for New England for 9 years, Washington last year. Not like a starting guy, I wouldn't think, this year. I don't think he comes in and beats out Woolen. I think he's more of a guy that's here for training camp and stuff like that. All right. The other one is a very interesting one here. Now, Arnold Ebiketie is the edge rushing, kind of a situational pass rusher. I look at him, not as the move. Right? I don't think he's the move that they make. That is it. So I look at him, man, I was thinking about this last night. What is the messaging behind signing a guy like Ebiketie? If you remember Ebiketie, he played at Temple for 4 years. Then he transferred to Penn State. The odd part is he didn't do all that much at Temple. Then he went to Penn State and got himself drafted in the second round. And then he gets to Atlanta, and he really hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. He's one of these guys that's kind of undersized. He reminds me of almost like a Bryce Huff, where he's a little shorter. He's got the longer arms, kind of like Ojulari built, kind of hit like him. So I have 2 questions about Ebiketie. One, I don't hate the move. I'm not like, what are you doing? This is one of those things where you say, we think we can get more out of him than you did. We think if he's in our defense, we can get more. This is a classic Howie Roseman move. What do I mean by that? Woolen, Ebiketie, both of these guys, classic Howie Roseman moves. Ebiketie, second-round pick, hasn't performed to what they thought. He gets him on the 1-year deal. Come here. We can help get you a bigger deal. Come here and perform. We think we can get a guy with talent on the cheap. Now, I wouldn't say he was cheap. Cheap. They didn't get him for like the veterans minimum. I mean, he is making like $7+ million. They did give him a guaranteed contract of about $4 million. But Ebiketie is a guy who he has sacked a quarterback in his career. That is one thing that he has been able to do. Not eye-popping numbers, but last year just 2 sacks. But the year before that, you look at Ebiketie, 6 sacks. The year before that, 6 sacks, 2.5 sacks. So he has 16.5 sacks in 67 games. Not like eye-popping numbers. He's one of these guys that you'll hear he's got that pass pressure rate. He ranks well in breathing on the quarterback. And I look at this deal as Philadelphia saying, we think we can get more from him than Atlanta did. That would be pretty much the way I look at that signing. So am I jumping for joy that they got Arnold Ebiketie here? Not necessarily. Am I saying terrible move? No, I understand it. This is the Howie Roseman move. You were a second-round pick. Maybe we liked you in that draft, 2022, I believe Ebiketie was drafted in. We liked you in that draft. We couldn't get you, and we're going to take a shot on you now. I would say, in my opinion, they should not be done at the edge rusher position with Ebiketie. Now, if he is the complement, he's a situational pass rusher. 37% of the snaps last year. You got to find somebody else, though. But the fact is, they have identified that they need more pass rushing. That's what I see there. 609-403-0973. The White Horse RV text board is open for business all day long. 609-403-0973. I definitely think that they have to get another body at pass rusher. Now, there is a name that I saw last night. Now, Ebiketie was not on my radar, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, man, I was hoping they got him. He didn't interest me all that much. I don't hate the move. He didn't interest me all that much. To me, he's a tweener. Don't see him as an every down player. I'm not going to get all that excited about him. Is there some potential there? Sure, second-round pick. But to me, remember, I didn't like Bryce Huff. I don't like these undersized kind of tweener guys. I just don't I can't count on him. Ebiketie, though, one thing with him, he has played in every game. Injuries have not been an issue with him. He's a late bloomer, too. He's a guy who, from Cameroon, came here, played football late, ended up at Temple, not obviously the biggest college football factory in the world. He ended up at Penn State. He got himself, and, I did see, Josh, your guy, Caden Steele. You've had him on the Hanging with Henning show a few times, right?
Yes.
So apparently Caden Steele went to Temple. And he had tweeted out last night that he watched Ebiketie at Temple, and he said the last year he was at Temple, you could tell that, he was becoming something, and then that parlayed him to the Penn State transfer, and he goes to Penn State, and he really had a good year to where he ends up getting drafted in the second round. But I look at the measurables. By the way, he's born on my birthday, so he does get some bonus points for that.
Oh.
But just to show that I'm not, I'm not biased, even though you're born on my birthday with Neil Diamond, I can't sit here and say that I am going to be overly ecstatic about Arnold Ebiketie. So that's my expository on Jonathan Jones and Arnold Ebiketie getting signed by the Eagles. Good moves, more to be done. Not the moves that say, that's it. We're done. We've solidified everything we know. I do think that Jonathan Jones is a solid backup for everybody you got. He could play the inside and he could play the outside. So you get one guy that can do multiple things. And I'm not saying they're done there, but I do think Jonathan Jones gives you a reputable veteran backup, which is what they wanted from Adoree Jackson last year. They wanted Jackson to be what Jonathan Jones is probably going to be this year. But they didn't have Woolen. They had Ringo.
Right.
Ringo didn't turn out to be Woolen, so Adoree had to step in, and that's not what they want in this situation.
Do you think they also look at Jones? You mentioned he could be a backup for guys. We know he can play outside corner, inside corner, and safety. Are you maybe looking at him as now being like the new wherever you need him, he could play in a pinch guy?
I would think that, yes, in a pinch, not, hey, we want you to win a job. Like, we want you to make the team, but I don't even think it's guaranteed that he makes the team, Jonathan Jones. I think he's how many times have they signed a veteran guy and he's been in the league for 10 years? And you're like, that's an interesting signing. And then, at training camp, you're like, he didn't even end up making the team.
Happens every year.
Seems like that happens all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if that was Jonathan Jones. He was a guy who was on those Patriot teams. He played for Belichick. He's kind of a...
Well, that's how he got the versatility. For those who don't remember, he was a guy that Belichick used all over the secondary. And, there would be situations where, one game, he's playing man corner on the outside. Another game, he's one of, 3 safeties in the secondary. So he was a guy that was very interesting when he initially left New England, because you were like, well, all of his experiences with Belichick and being that versatile piece, how does he fit into other defenses? And we know that Fangio, he likes to use guys in different roles. And if he's a guy, if Fangio is the guy who gets his hands on people, right? And he says, hey, I think this guy is this. And then he finds a role for him.
Yeah, I know that Belichick liked him a lot. I do want to read the Diana Rossini from 3 hours ago. Obviously, we were not on the air, but this is the latest that I saw from Diana Rossini regarding some Eagles stuff. 1, A.J. Brown trade discussions are not dead. Last week, I was told the Rams discussed trading for A.J. Brown before dealing for Trent McDuffie. Dialogue slowed, but Los Angeles continues to monitor the status of the 3-time Pro Bowler with interest. We'll see where both parties go for here. Let me ask this question before I go on to the next thing. If you're Philadelphia, are you interested in trading A.J. Brown to the Rams?
No.
Isn't that a team that you should probably avoid trying to send him to?
Yes.
These
are very easy questions you're asking.
Rossini went on to tweet at about noon today. She says, Eagles GM Howie Roseman is juggling several cap decisions, including the future of Dallas Goedert. Clarity on A.J. Brown's future could help shape several other roster decisions. That's an interesting one. So they have to make a decision on what to do with Goedert. Do they want Goedert to come back or risk losing him, but then also potentially risk losing A.J. Brown? Because she's saying clarity on A.J. Brown's future could help shape several other decisions. It sounds like A.J. Brown's future in Philly could affect them deciding to bring Goedert back or not. So would you rather just go get Goedert and try to trade Brown, or say, listen, I got to let Goedert walk if it's going to save Brown?
I think that goes back to what we talked about yesterday with the guys at New England, the Patriots insiders from NBC Sports Boston, who were saying, hey, we expect A.J. Brown to be traded after June 1st to the Patriots, that both teams are just kind of waiting it out. So is there a scenario where you get Goedert back in the fold, but maybe you structure Goddard's contract in a way that maybe the money doesn't hit this year? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine, too, correct me if I'm wrong here, something's going to have to be done with Goedert by the end of the show?
By the end of today, yes. So for those who don't know, on Wednesday, Zach Berman and Jeremy Fowler both reported that the Eagles and Goedert agreed to move back, basically the window for him and their agent to basically talk about things. Well, today's the day. So if they don't get something done today, he's going on dates with other teams.
Yes. If they can't get something done today, he will then be a free agent and be free to sign with anybody else that he wants. Now, Jeff Kerr, who, of course, will be joining us at 3 o'clock, who's going to be covering the Phillies this year. Jeff is very versatile, which is why we love having Jeff a part of our team now. He has covered the NFL for years for CBS Sports. He also covered the Phillies for CBS 3 Philadelphia. This year, he's primarily going to be covering the Phillies first and foremost. But then when the football season gets here, Jeff will be kind of transitioning to do both for us. So he can give us some insight. But he tweeted out that he thinks the Rams being interested in Brown is a good thing for the Eagles, and his willingness The reason is more bidders to the table means the Patriots have to ante up more so they can try to have them bid up against each other. I can understand that way of thinking. I just don't want to trade him to the Rams. So if I'm the Patriots, I can still lowball you. I can still lowball you and say, fine, trade him inside the conference to one of your biggest potential rivals. Trade him to a team that you might see in the NFC Championship game. You want to play A.J. Brown in the NFC Championship game? Good luck. That's the way I'm pitching it if I'm the Patriots.
I hear you. I would just ask the question, what do you think the Rams would be willing to give up for him, you think?
Don't know.
Because we know the Rams have a history of not being afraid of trading picks.
No, and I have no idea what they would be willing to give up. What did they trade to get McDuffie?
Let me pull that up. I believe one of them was a first-round pick.
Right, exactly. So you look at what they gave up to give McDuffie. What do they got left? I mean, there was a time where the Rams, remember, they were trading draft picks all over the place. So to answer your question, I think the Rams are very willing to give up picks for players. They've done that, and they made all those trades. They ended up winning the Super Bowl when people were like, they won that Super Bowl, and they kind of sold their soul because they gave up so many picks to get that team. Well, here they are a couple of years later, and they never really had a downturn. Right? The Rams never had a time where they were like horrible because they didn't have picks. They traded – how many first-round picks were they were trading? They traded one to get
Jalen Ramsey.
The corner, Ramsey, right? They were trading.
They traded another one to get
Stafford.
Multiple picks to get Stafford, yeah, because that was Jared Goff swap. So here's what they traded against McDuffie. So they traded a 29th overall pick, a 5th round pick, and a 3rd round pick next year. Now, here are the picks they have left.
I would think, by the way.
Yes.
So say that again.
A 1st round and a 5th round this year, and a 3rd round.
1st and a 5th this year.
And a 3rd next.
And a 3rd next. Okay.
Here's the picks they have left.
So if you're Philadelphia.
Yes.
You wait till June 1st, and you can still ask for their 1st round pick next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, they do still have a 1st round pick this year, but it's the Falcons pick.
Okay.
So they own the 13th overall pick. They also own a 2nd round pick and a 3rd round pick this year, and they own 3 7th round picks.
Insignificant, the 7th stuff. I'm looking at, right. So the Rams gave up their pick to get McDuffie, so they still own the 13th pick, which is the Falcons pick,
right?
Which would be very valuable. Now, do they want to give up 2 first-round picks in the same draft?
What if you and the Eagles agree to a pick swap as part of the A.J. Brown trade?
Well, right. Okay, we'll take 13. We'll give you 23.
Right.
You could think about that, sure. But again, do you want to trade him to L.A.?
That's the problem. Because you could argue the Rams are going to be one of your biggest threats.
But you rather the 13th pick than the Patriots' 31st pick.
True. Because it's way.
Or would you rather just wait till next year?
Yeah, that's tough.
609-403-0973. By the way, down in Clearwater, Bomer Homer today, a second day, back-to-back days for Alec Bohm with a Bomer Homer. Bohm's cooking this spring. He is hitting .348 with a .360 on base. He's got 2 homers, and he's really not protected at all in the lineup. I mean, he's got Adolis Garcia hitting .174 behind him, and no Harper, no Schwarber. So Bohm has kind of carried this offense down there in Clearwater. They're tied with Baltimore right now, 3-3. Insignificant who wins the game? Sure. Here's the problem. The 3-3 score is because Andrew Painter gave up a home run, and that's not good to see. He gave up a home run to the catcher, who's the prospect kid. Samuel, I can't think of his name. I'm blanking right now.
Not Samuel Dallenberg.
No, not Sam Dallenberg, who I actually watched him play when he was at Seton Hall when he played against West Virginia. But he gave up a 2-run tater shot there. And, you'd like to see Painter, who did have 4 strikeouts in 2 2/3.
Samuel Basalo.
Yes. They got the 2 catchers down there. They're going to they were talking about on the broadcast, too, that they're going to split the time between the 2 catchers. Who's the other catcher?
Rushman.
You're not Rushman. Adley Rushman, man. I'm not in like not. I've been having a rough day. I was talking earlier, and this was like about like I can't even remember who I was talking to earlier, and all the names are just blanking out of my head.
But what they don't know, Basallo can play first and catch. So
he's iffy at first.
But still, I mean, you could make the argument there are days you could put them both in the lineup.
Sure.
The real problem with the Orioles, not to go too deep down the weeds, but they're both left-handed hitters.
609-403-0973, the White Horse RV text board. Guys, I sent a similar text last year, and we're a year closer. Howie and the Eagles are getting closer to Hurts having large cap hits, and his deal will need to be addressed. Not saying it's full rebuild, but if the Eagles move on from A.J. and Dallas, it signals a transition period where you are figuring out if Hurts is worth another contract. Well, listen, once you sign that contract, and by the way, that's Cole and LBI, who's not the biggest Hurts fan, but that being said, Hurts is one of the lower paid quarterbacks in the league now. When he signed that deal, he was the highest paid quarterback in the league. The Eagles now have him on a pretty team-friendly deal at this point.
For those who don't know, so after 2026, there is no more guaranteed money on Hurts' contract.
Yeah, so I would agree that he is definitely on the clock now. Once you play on that deal and you sign that big of a deal, you're on the clock the second you sign that deal. No one's shying from that. I mean, you sign a deal of that magnitude and you're not getting it done, the Philadelphia Eagles have to be evaluating whether or not they want to sign you to another big deal. There's nothing wrong with that.
And the way it works also, for those who don't know, so for 2028, there is an out. So they can get out of, depending on when they break ties, they can get out of $23 million cap savings.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they wait another year, $89 million cap savings. So it's not like Hurts' deal long-term is actually going to kill you. What's going to happen is that he's going to run out of guaranteed money. They got to finish either the contract or they just say, thanks for playing, we'll let you go.
Well, I would imagine they would look to try to find a trade partner, like they did, with
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I mean, if they know in their head they are not going to re-sign him when the non-guaranteed money comes in, you pass him off to somebody else and probably say, hey, you guys want a quarterback?
By the way, the savings is the same whether you cut him or trade him.
Yeah,
So.
And if they don't think they're going to extend him is what I'm saying.
Right.
One thing that should be brought up is the fact that how are the Rams going to take on all this money with Adams and Puka already there? Well, I do think that one of the things is potentially and Puka's contract's coming up here soon.
Yes.
And that would be – I have no interest in Adams.
Adams' contract is not that cost prohibitive for the Rams long term because he's not under Puka's the one on the long term, going to be on the long term deal. Adams is going to be, 33, 34?
Yeah, I have no interest in
He's almost done.
Right. I have no interest in Adams, but do they want to swap you Puka Nacua? Are they unwilling to give him a contract extension because of his injury history that he has had? Something to kind of think about as well.
Puka is a willing blocker, if you want to factor that in at all.
All right. We start there today. You guys get involved. Hit us up hard on the text board today. The White Horse RV text board. 609-403-0973. The White Horse RV text board. Your RV adventure starts here. They have RV centers in Williamstown and Galloway. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. Hey, coming up, it's a busy day today. We have multiple opportunities for you to enter to win tickets to see the Phillies and the Orioles. There's a bus trip. We're sending Phillies fans down to Baltimore, and you can get a pair of tickets to be on the bus. You must be present to win at the Anchorage on Thursday, March 26th, our Phillies opening day watch party. It is open to everybody. Everybody listening right now, even if you enter or not, you are welcome to come watch the Phillies game with us. But you must enter in a variety of ways. One, listen on the radio. 97.3 ESPN, listen for that sounder. 2, watch the show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel or on the X platform. You can watch the show on YouTube or X. And right now, if you're watching the show, there is directions on how you can enter to win the tickets. A third way is to follow us on all our social media channels. 97.3 ESPN on X, Instagram, Facebook. And there are directions on those social media platforms on what you need to do to get an entry. It's pretty simple. All right, coming up. McGarry usually on Friday at this time, he's got to bump to the next hour. So we'll talk to Mike in 1 hour from now. Happy Hour Friday, Sports Bash Live. The Flyers won last night. How many points are they out of the playoff spot all of a sudden? We'll discuss that and more. The Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. 232 Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Flyers win last night, and you might not be paying attention. Josh, you were watching the game last night, correct?
Yes, I was.
I saw a little bit. It was 1-1, then it was 2-1 Wild, and the Flyers tied it up 2-2. They went to overtime and ended up winning in a shootout. They beat Minnesota 3-2. So those of you who have bailed out on the Flyers, they might be pulling you back in because the Sixers have kicked you to the curb. They got curb stomped last night. They were actually playing hard for a little while. And then, like every other night, the third quarter happened, and they just got dusted. They just didn't have the horses last night, but they did fight as hard as they could. They got blasted, though, by Detroit. The line was 15.5. They lost by about 30, right?
Yeah, they lost by almost 30, yeah.
So, with the Flyers' win last night, this is starting to get interesting. Fly Guys are 6 points behind the Islanders for the third spot in the Metro, which is an automatic playoff berth. They're also 5 points behind the Bruins for a playoff spot as a wild card team. So, down the stretch they come. Less than 20 games left. I think there's like 18 games, 17 games left, something like that. And they're 5 points out. So this is what the Flyers have coming up if they're looking at the schedule moving forward here. They have, here we go. You got Columbus. That game's tomorrow. And then you're off for a few days. And this is this is where it's just infuriating, right? You play on Saturday. Then you don't play again until Wednesday. And then you have a back-to-back. So you're off on Monday and Tuesday. You're off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then you play on Wednesday and Thursday. But here's the problem. Yes, you play Columbus. Now, right now, Columbus, and it really doesn't matter, right? Because the Flyers will go play the Rangers and get their ass kicked. And then they'll play Minnesota and beat them. They play Columbus, who right now is battling for a playoff berth. They are right there with you, kind of 2 points out of a playoff spot. Then they go out west, and they have a 3-game West Coast trip. Not ideal. Anaheim. Now, I remember they played Anaheim before. I think they beat them when they played Anaheim, who's the best team out west. You got Anaheim. You got the Kings, who are not very good. And you got San Jose, who's kind of battling for a playoff spot. So you got a West Coast trip with 3 teams. One's very good. The other one's okay. The other one's eh. Then you play Columbus again. Then you got Chicago, right? The Blackhawks, who are possibly, other than Vancouver, I would imagine Chicago is one of the worst teams, if not the worst team, outside of Vancouver, right? You got Dallas, and Dallas is solid. This is a very good team. Dallas is pretty good.
Dallas is a good team. Yep. And I think by the way, the danger for teams like Chicago and Dallas is less about their literal record. It's more about the fact that Dallas is a team that's fighting for playoff positioning. Chicago is a team that's got a lot of young guys who are just coming up now who are trying to prove they belong. That's always dangerous for the Flyers because, the Flyers, they'll play a team like the Wild and go blow for blow with one of the better teams in the league. And then they'll play a team like Chicago and they'll get shell-shocked like they did against Utah. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, point being, it doesn't really matter the level of opponent. They'll play good against good teams and bad against bad teams because this is where it gets interesting. Down the stretch, they've got Washington, Detroit, the Islanders, Boston, New Jersey. Those are all teams that are hanging right around there with you. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Let's go to the White Horse RV text board, check in on a couple of things here. I guess what I was trying to say is how are they going to make all 3 work with the amount of money that would be owed to all 3 potentially? Puka, Adams, AJ, thanks. Well, listen, if you're an Eagles fan, you don't need to ask that question. You just figure it out. You kick the can down the road. You sign contracts. You give bonuses up front. You structure these contracts. Somebody was talking about, I think it was a Cowboys fan. There was somebody online. He was a Cowboys fan. And he was showing how the Eagles are like $66 million in dead cap money or something like that. And the Cowboy fan is wondering, like, how do the Eagles sign these contracts? Well, your GM is a dope. The Eagles isn't. And there's your difference. The Rams have a good GM. Les Snead's a good GM.
By the way, you got to remember, the part of what the Rams are doing is they are trying to win one more championship before Stafford retires. Stafford has said numerous times, I want to play a couple more years, and then he's done. So for the Rams, they're saying, future be damned, we're trying to win now. And then when Stafford retires, we'll figure it out then. And by the way, you know what happens when Stafford retires? You know what McVay's probably going to do? He's probably going to draft a quarterback, which means that quarterback will be on a rookie contract.
609-403-0973. This is from Robbie in Little Egg Harbor. It says, Hurts has a team-friendly deal. There are no guaranteed money on the contract after the point he did win a Super Bowl. The one that the Eagles lost, Hurts played great in that Super Bowl and lost. The fumble and the bad punt, no question about that. That fumble was a big play in that game. But, the point he's making is there's no guaranteed money. Listen, Hurts does not get paid. He's not a top-level pay guy anymore, right? I mean, he's got to be in the middle of the pack. I mean, Malik Willis is getting paid $48 million a year now. Hurts is well below. I think Hurts is what, like, I got to see the highest paid NFL QBs right now.
So at the top of the list right now is Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Prescott's averaging $60 a year right now. Following him is Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and then you get to Jalen Hurts.
So he's middle of the pack, right? What number is that?
Hurts is at
Prescott, Burrow, Allen, Love, Lawrence, Goff, Purdy, Herbert, Jackson. So he's 10th.
Right.
So he's 10th in
average per
year, right. And he makes $51 million a year.
Now, again, that's not what it is. For those who don't know, that's not what he's literally getting paid this year. That's just how the numbers break out on average. Because a lot of these contracts, well, teams like the Eagles do this. The Chiefs do with Patrick Mahomes as well. They stagger
Mahomes restructured his deal, too.
Yeah, for the 20th time.
Yeah. But Hurts has slowly started to move down that list. Malik Willis, by the way, he is getting he is right there. So it's Jalen Hurts followed by Deshaun Watson, then Patrick Mahomes, then Daniel Jones, then Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Malik Willis. That's where the pay scale. So Hurts is progressively going down and down that list. And for his contract, he still has $110 million fully guaranteed on that deal.
Right. He has 110 total guaranteed on the deal left.
All right, 609-403-0973. Cole follows up. He said, that's my point. After 2026, Hurts guaranteed money makes his contract something that needs to be addressed. I'm not a Hurts hater. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Cole.
Who do you think's more of a hater? Is it Cole from LBI on Jalen Hurts or Chris Canty on Nick Sirianni?
Probably Canty on Sirianni, but more on that coming up. But Cole says, I'm not a Hurts hater. I think he's an amazing awareness of what he can do and protects the ball, but he's limited. He makes extending him, again, a legit question, especially if it makes it difficult. I don't think that asking about extending him is off base, though, because if he's not going to use his legs, even, and I disagree with, like, his limited part, I don't think he's limited. I think he is a guy, like, he can make every throw. And say a guy who's been an MVP of a Super Bowl and absolutely balled out in another Super Bowl, I think it's hard to really say he's limited in asking him to do everything. He can make every throw. He's got great deep ball skills. I think the one area where he has been questioned is when he doesn't use his legs, he's not fulfilling his full abilities. And then the offense doesn't ask him to do a whole heck of a lot on a week-to-week basis. By the way, another Bomer homer for the Phils. Alec Bohm, a two-run jackaloni.
I always go back to when it comes to Hurts, what I've heard other quarterbacks say, like Kurt Warner and Nick Foles and others. Jalen Hurts as you said, can make every throw. But the question is always asked, is he being given the right information to make every throw, number one? And number two, the longer he holds the ball, the more trouble he has with processing. He is very good at quick decisions, get the ball out of your hands. But the longer he holds the ball, it's almost like he loses track of the play. And so then if he doesn't run, the team's in trouble. Like, for example, in college,
the offense is set up in a way that is predicated on him making the read of when to take off when things have broken down. The problem has now become when that lane is there for him, he's not taking it.
Or when the lane is there for him, like Nick Foles has said on his Seasons podcast, it looks like Hurts is being told, don't take the lane and go to this specific player, right? It's the idea that Hurts sometimes only plays half the field. So if he's only looking to the left, but the open lane is to the right, he never sees it. And that's a problem in and of itself. And that's why
I'm not debating that he has some limitations. He has some limitations, as does many of these guys.
But
we're acting like there's a perfect quarterback out there. But I do agree that the Eagles are evaluating whether or not they want to extend him. That's easy to say. Hey, you're getting older. You're not running as much. The bill's going to be due again. Do we want to repay that bill? That I have no problem with him saying.
Isn't this also why you hired Sean Mannion to make that as part of this determination process, right?
I think so. I think that they're saying we need to change the offense to see if there's another gear in him. That's the big thing here. 609-403-0973 over on the YouTube channel. Jeff's watching on YouTube. And he makes an interesting point. By the way, USA and Canada tonight. And Jeff throws this into the mix. Today is Friday the 13th. Should I be scared that USA baseball could lose to Canada? To which I would say, Jeff, if USA hockey beats Canada, it would only make sense that Canada baseball would beat USA, right? Hockey's their game. Baseball's our game. I don't think it's going to happen, but he said it's Friday the 13th. Some wonky things could happen. USA beats Canada in their game, and now Canada returns the favor and beats us in our game. Could that actually happen? Yeah, I don't think so.
I think it'd be hilarious, though.
Well, I mean, it would certainly be, hilarious. It's not my kind of humor, but I think it would definitely be, it would be an epic fail to lose to the Italian team, followed up by losing to the Canadian team. And I would imagine the Canadian team is actually worse than the Italian team.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They have fewer high-level ball players, which is crazy to say. But, when you have Aaron Nola and Vinny Pasquantino, it actually makes you look a lot better.
All right, coming up, 3 o'clock hour, Jeff Kerr is going to talk WBC, Phillies in action, 2 bone bombs today. Is this the year that we finally unlock Alec Boehm's potential? It's a man on a mission today. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Listen for that sounder, your chance to qualify for that trip to go see the Phillies play the Orioles is coming this hour on the Sports Bash. All right, 2:51 on a Friday. Happy Hour Friday, everybody. I see some people giving us some good suggestions. What are you having for this weekend? It is a kind of a quiet weekend before the March Madness tournament picks up. Next weekend, the Madness will be underway. So what are you having this weekend? Give us a good suggestion on a Happy Hour Friday, 609 403 0973 on the White Horse RV hotline. Bowers, BC and Bowers Beats Happy Hour Friday. Blue Hen Pilsner from Dogfish Brewery in Milton, Delaware. Says, go Delaware State men's basketball tonight in the MEAC tournament. I haven't had the Blue Hen Pilsner, but it sounds like a conflict with the Delaware State Hornets and the Delaware Blue Hens. Am I reading that right, BC from Bowers Beach? But sounds like a good one there. Enjoy that one tonight on a Happy Hour Friday. Let us know what you're having and where. Bohm and Stott are going to have career years for the Phillies. Luzardo and Kerr as well. By the All-Star break, fans will know who Chase Sugared and Kyle Backus are. That's from Steve and Ventnor. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think Bohm and Stott are guys that profile as two guys that should finally have big years. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Bohm's had an all-star year where he was the starting player in the all-star game. He's had 97 RBIs in back-to-back seasons. I don't know how many guys in the majors you can find that will have 97 RBIs back-to-back years. So to say he's going to have a career year means that Bohm's going to go up over 100 ribbies. Was he finally going to hit 20 to 25 homers? We'll see. But I don't think that it's outrageous to say that. Luzardo and Kerr. I mean, Luzardo had a good year last year. Kerr, he was solid. Kerr had a good year last year. He just had a meltdown in the playoffs. And then Sugared and Backus, whatever. If they have good years, great. Good call by you. If not, I think they're pretty insignificant pieces of this team because, quite frankly, if you need Sugared and Backus to have key roles, that means that everybody else in front of them did not. And that if those two guys ended up having key roles, that's a bad sign. You don't want people to know who Chase Sugared and Kyle Backus are. You're hoping that Tanner Banks, Alvarado, and everybody on the depth chart, Kerkering, ahead of them will keep them kind of anonymous, if you will. All right, 609-403-0973. Keep the text messages coming on the White Horse RV text board. I am Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. Coming up, a big game today for the Phils is Painter pitch. What did Jeff Kerr see from this outing? And does he think that this is the year for Alec Bohm, who's got 2 homers today? Keep it locked. The Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. But right now, it's your first chance of the day to enter to win tickets to go see the Phillies and Orioles at Camden Yards, where you're heading out for the first game of the series on Friday, July 31st. You will get a chance to be on that bus if you're caller 7 right now, 609-573-3776, 609-573-ESPN. We're heading out for that game, Phillies, Orioles. You'll get a chance to spend some free time at the Inner Harbor. You take in the game at night. Then you'll have 2 tickets, lower-level seats between left field and third base on the Phillies side of the field, lunch on the ride down there. You must be present to win. We will be at the Anchorage in Summers Point for opening day. It's our opening day watch party. Caller 7 right now. Good luck. All right, 3 o'clock. Phil's in action today. We told you Andrew Painter, 3-3. He gave up a big old bomb earlier today. Alec Boehm has answered. He's got 2 homers. He got USA-Canada tonight in the WBC. Now, our buddy Jeff from Ocean City, he messaged us. He says, it's Friday the 13th. Does that mean Canada will beat USA in baseball? To which I said, well, if USA beats Canada in hockey, shouldn't then Canada beat USA in baseball? Is that the trade-off? You get to win the gold hockey, but Canada gets to win the baseball game. That's tonight, 8 o'clock. I know Jeff Kerr has a little bit of problem with the WBC schedule setup. Of course, Jeff Kerr is covering the Phillies for 97.3 ESPN.com. Check out his Substack. And, of course, starting on Monday the 23rd, Phillies Today will be the new podcast. You can hear from Jeff, Oscar Budijan, and myself talking Phillies every day right around noon on all the social media platforms. What's going on, Jeff?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, I'm a little upset. I can't watch Dominican Republic and Korea and U.S.-Canada at the same time. It's a quarterfinal.
Yeah, you got a 6:30 game and then an 8 o'clock game, so there's going to be some overlap there. Now, baseball does this during the playoffs, too, where they got 2 games sometimes going at the same time. 5 and 8:30 or 5 and 8 would have been the 2 times to kind of do it. I guess TV won out here.
Yeah, maybe TV, maybe for the Korean viewership, which is fine. I mean, but these times were always set for 6:30 and 8, even way before this tournament started. That's what I don't understand what they're thinking. I know there's a lot going on within the Fox networks. The Big East Conference tournament. There's conference tournaments all over the place. There's a lot of sports going on right now, right? NBA, NHL. But look, I'm a baseball fan. I want to watch every pitch of every inning of every game I can. And a quarterfinal game, it just makes sense. I don't understand. Like, I have people saying to me on X today, oh, well, March Madness, they play games simultaneously. I'm like, not the quarterfinals.
Right. The big games, they do not, cross paths. It's those first-round games where you got the madness going on over and over today. Let's talk about that game. I know the bizarre thing that happened with DeRosa. I don't know what your opinion was on how DeRosa handled that whole thing. He's getting lambasted. My opinion kind of was, listen, I don't know whether he knew the rules or not when he went on High Heat and said that he didn't know. I got to imagine by the time he got off that interview, he was well aware of the rules. So even if he didn't know the rules then, he knew by the time that game started.
That's what I'm thinking, right? So, look, Mike, you're a coach, I'm a coach. You have assistants, right? I'm an assistant. Some assistants telling him, hey,
definitely,
you're not right here, right? You do know we haven't clinched a thing. Someone's telling him that. He had to know before the game. It just looks really bad because he said it on air, and it looks even worse because MLB Network decided we're getting rid of that clip in general, but it's the internet. You're going to find stuff. And what I didn't like is DeRosa kind of doubling down and saying he misspoke. I said, you know what? You should have just took the L there. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, even if he did misspeak, he knew by the time the game started. So I guess the question would be, because a lot of people are like, well, the lineup, the funny part is the guys he put into the lineup, they actually produced. I mean, so it wasn't like, and quite frankly, let's be honest, his lineup is better with any guy he puts in that lineup than the Italian lineup. They just got beat. They got beat. And whether DeRosa looks like a fool or not, it has nothing to do with the fact that he knew or did not know the rules.
Yeah, my biggest issue was, and again, this is before the whole Italy game. And again, look, the U.S. didn't think Italy was going to be 2-0 going in that game. But when you want to save Therese Skubal, if you know he's going to pitch one game for one of the later games like Mexico or Italy, you used him against Great Britain, then he says sayonara.
Absolutely. I think you could certainly ask why they set their pitching up the way they did. Now, he had Nolan McLean pitching that game. You're thinking this dude should be able to shut down the Italian team, for God's sakes.
Mike, doesn't it bother you with this team? And again, I don't blame DeRosa for this. They just don't feel together like the Dominican Republic, like Venezuela, like Japan, even Mexico. I know Mexico's out. Italy. Like, they just seem like a collection of stars playing baseball.
Well, that seemingly is the problem with a lot of the men's basketball team. That's one of the reasons why these other countries have kind of caught and surpassed us in some aspects in basketball. We put together a bunch of all-stars. They have teams. similar to baseball, and they tried to find some guys that were not the all-star player, a guy that will, lay a bunt down or do all that stuff. But, we'll see. I mean, it's funny because they'll play Canada tonight. I would say Canada is not even as talented as Italy is.
I would agree with you. And look, the 17 team, they were really connected. They were close. Remember Adam Jones doing everything for them, and Marcus Stroman, he was all fired up. Like, that team seemed to have a purpose, and this is where I do think it was the manager. Jim Leland is good at that. And look, DeRosa in 23, I thought DeRosa did a fine job with that team in 23. They got to the final. It ended up being Ohtani versus Trout, and Ohtani won, And remember, that Japan team almost lost to Mexico in the semifinal. Can you tell I watched the World Baseball Classic? But look, this team, I don't know, just something seems off. And I didn't like Harper's comments. I agree with him, but I don't like him saying that. He's kind of, it just, the optics look bad, right? DeRosa, the optics look bad. And it just feels like and look, that team did rally. They lost 8-6, but it just felt like it just takes them too long to get going. And back to your Canada point, I would agree. Like, Canada's worse than Italy. They should be able to take care of this team.
Yeah. All right, Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports. It's USA. Excuse me. I'm so trained to Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports. I said that earlier today. Jeff Kerr, 97.3 ESPN, covering the Phillies. Let's talk about the Phillies. Andrew Painter today. You talked about his fastball. I saw you tweet that out. He did give up the home run. He had 4 strikeouts, but what did you think of the outing today for Painter?
I mean, the first 2 innings, I thought he was fine, right, Mike? He had great command. I thought the fastball was good. It wasn't elevating pitches. At third inning, Mike, I don't know how much of the game you got to watch because obviously you're doing your job. But there was a strike 3 call that was ruled a ball and Garrett Stubbs didn't challenge it, and that would have gotten Painter out of the inning. And maybe we're not talking about this as frequent, but the fastball velocity was significantly down from the from the second inning to the third inning. And that's what bothered me. Like, he started out the third inning, he's throwing like 93, low 93. I'm like, that's not Andrew Painter. What's going on here? And yeah, he threw 60 pitches. I'm sure that was his pitch count. But I actually said to a buddy of mine on X, we were DMing each other, and I would like to see him go into the 4th inning, and it just didn't happen.
Didn't happen today. He gave up the home run, and obviously that is the one blemish you're hoping that will not be a problem for him. He had 4 strikeouts on the day today against the Orioles. The big thing today, Alec Boehm. I want to get some thoughts on Boehm because, he is a free agent. His name has come up in talks. Everyone's been waiting for him to show more power. 2 homers today, 1 yesterday. He's hitting .375 with a .385 on base, a .833 slug. Am I supposed to get sucked in that Boehm is finally going to break out with the power numbers this year?
I still take spring numbers with a grain of salt. You know that, Mike. I say that when guys are struggling in the spring, right? Let's see what they do in the regular season. But I think you're going to get out Boehm what you're going to get out Boehm, right? 270, 280 average. You'll probably get about 15 to 20 home runs. Remember the other year he had 20 home runs and like close to 100 RBIs. And you're like, okay, yeah, you'll take that out, Alec Boehm. I think that's a good third baseman. But look, I'm not expecting this whole power wave to come, but you never know, right? Free agency, here's the thing, Mike. What if he does have a breakthrough year? It's 280, 25 home runs, maybe drives in the 100, OPS of 850. Are you inclined to keep him?
That's the problem, is what happens if he has the year that we're all waiting for, because he's at a time where it's like, all right, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you do it, and it's in your free agent year, and now you're right in your prime. Do we want to bring you back in a time where you've been kind of yearning to see some sort of change to this roster?
Yeah, and I think what would make the decision easier is if, say, Bryson Stott hits, and if Stott can hit, you can always move him over the third, or Aiden Miller plays third, and Bryson Stott stays at second. Because remember, you got to make an Edmundo Sosa decision this year, too. There's going to be some change on this team after this season. There's going to be change in Major League Baseball after this season. But, yeah, the Alec Boehm thing, look, he was the number 3 overall pick. He was drafted high. He was going to be part of this rebuild. Ended up being more of a part of this rebuild. Was he the superstar you thought he was going to be when he got drafted? No, but he's been an all-star. He's been good. It's not like he's terrible. So if he has a big year, he's going to be in his, what is he, 28, Mike?
I think so, yeah. By the way, Jeff Kerr, 97.3 ESPN, covers the Phillies. I have said I'd hit Bohm in the 3-hole, which is where he's been hitting in this spring because everybody's gone, and basically have Schwarber hit fourth behind him, so you have Schwarber protecting him. I would like to see how that kind of unfolds here. I do want to, though, because, all right, what happens with Bohm? Let's say he has a big year. Very disappointing spring for Aiden Miller for the one reason. He never got to play, and they've already optioned him back. Are you getting a little worried about what's going on with Miller here?
Little concerned. I'm not fully concerned. Look, and we're not going to hear much about him now because he's in minor league camp unless you actually go to the backfields and see what he's doing, if he's even swinging the bat. But I think I'll be a little more concerned if he misses a significant chunk of April, right? Like, say he doesn't come back until May 1st. Then you're worried. I mean, he's already behind the 8 ball, but it's quick to get your timing back and play in those minor league games. And if he misses a start at AAA, remember, that's 13 days away, too. The AAA starts the same day the Phillies do. And it'll be interesting talking to Aiden on March 25th, I believe. Lehigh players are going to be available. So that'll be interesting to see where he's at. But I'm not fully concerned yet. But there is some good news, Mike, because how about Zach Wheeler? Looks like he'll be back by mid-April.
I was going to follow up. That was my next thing on the list here. What are we feeling about Wheeler and when we possibly could see him pitch in a big league game? It feels like if it was up to him, he'd probably say, I'm ready to go, and they're going to just ramp him up and follow what they want. But when do you think we'll see Wheeler?
I think we are going to see him mid-April. So I heard between April and May, and I said, well, that's really encouraging, honestly, because you're probably thinking when he had the surgery, okay, maybe he'll be back by May, maybe he'll be back by June, but everything he's doing just seems to be going in his favor. And, he's having good bullpen sessions. He's throwing the ball well, and everything he hears is encouraging, right? And that ain't just, PR talk. That's what you're seeing, right? And everything I've been hearing from our reporters, look, he'll be back by minute. So what, you get 2 starts out of Taijuan Walker, you just stretch him out. It seems like 3 starts he'll miss, and I think that's more than fine.
Yeah, listen, and that's what I wanted to ask is, do you think it's definitively Walker who will be the odd man out when Wheeler comes back?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm concerned about, right? Because Painter's velocity keeps dipping in the 3rd inning. Do you just send him down to AAA? I don't think they do that, but you want to get him innings. Maybe he's a long man in the bullpen. I don't know. I think they really want to see this Painter thing play out. I think they know Walker can pitch in that swing role, and I think that's what they're going to do. Look, at this point, you've been eating $18 million for the last couple of years. You might as well eat it again.
Talk with Jeff Kerr, 97.3ESPN.com. Covers the Phillies. Check out his Substack at Jeff Kerr, PHL. We're talking pitching. We're talking about this rotation and what it might look like. What you think of Nola the other night, and then, how he fits into this rotation?
Boy, you feel a lot better about this rotation when you saw what Aaron Nola did for Italy against Mexico the other night. And just what he's doing this whole spring. He talked about getting the fastball velocity up, changing a little bit in his slot, his delivery, and you're seeing the result. I think Aaron Nola just feels more confident. He was embarrassed by last season. He just overall, he wasn't happy with everything that transpired with the injury and with him coming back. And, maybe he thought coming back was a second wind. And, Mike, like we said, he came back. He was better, but he wasn't Aaron Nola. I think we're going to see Aaron Nola this year.
Well, and I agree. Like, if he makes, say, 30 starts, I would say, you get 15 Aaron Nola good starts. You probably get 10 Aaron Nola bad starts. And then the rest are kind of just whatever starts. You go on the Nola coaster. You get good starts, you get bad starts. You get good starts, you get an okay start. It's Aaron Nola. And I think you're going to get that guy back, where his ERA is 3.78, somewhere in that range. But is he one of the top guys come playoff time? That's, to me, Jeff, that's the story of the season. How does that pitching staff, because the difference between you and the Dodgers was their starters helped them out in the bullpen. The Phillies don't really have guys that can help you out. Nola can't go to the bullpen and help you out.
Painter could if they choose to do that, because, look, in his first inning, that fastball is 97, 98, right? So you imagine getting that for a couple outs in the bullpen in October?
Yeah, that's, and that's what they got from Luzardo.
Yeah, and Luzardo was great for them. So I'm just looking at, I think this is their conundrum. Wheeler's going to be pitching the rotation in October. Sanchez is. After that, Luzardo probably, because you're paying him to do that, but can Walker do it? I don't know. Painter can. Noah's not. So, look, their rotation's kind of set. By the way, how about them signing Jesus Luzardo? That was kind of on the back burner this week, Mike Gill.
It sure was. And a lot of people wondered, should they have pivoted and kept Ranger, or do you prefer having Luzardo here for those years?
I think I'd rather have Luzardo just because he's younger. I think there's more upside with him. Ranger, look, I love Ranger. I just don't know what Ranger you're getting, and meaning like if he's going to be healthy or not. He's had back issues. He's had other issues with his hip. Like he was a great prospect for them and who developed, and he could swing in every role. But honestly, Mike, I think I'd rather take the upside of Luzardo, and I think that's what they did.
I agree because of the injury issues, right? I mean, one problem with Sanchez is he couldn't get you through a full regular season of games, and then he's getting back into the playoffs, and he did pitch well in the playoffs, so it's hard to question that. But, all right, I do want to get your thoughts, Jeff, on Garcia. Adolis Garcia has not had a good spring. I don't know if you're seeing him and saying, you know what, he might be cooked, or, hey, it's only, you said you spring grain of salt for spring training, and I agree, but are you watching Garcia and wondering if there's anything left there?
Yeah, that's I mean, if there's nothing there, what are you doing right field? That's what I'm concerned about. Like, this is your guy. This is the guy you said is going to be the right field. Maybe that's why Brandon Marsh was playing right field the other day, Mike.
It's funny because I kept for years we've said, how come they haven't, used, like last year they could have used Brandon Marsh in a platoon with Castellanos. Of course, they didn't want to do that until the whole Castellanos thing unraveled. But, yeah, that would be a big thing. If Garcia, I mean, he's hitting 200 right now. Not great, but as you said, take it with a grain of salt. It's spring training. But is Garcia going to be a guy that's hitting 200, 210? He's not a high on-base guy. You're right. What happens if Adolis Garcia is struggling along for half the year? I think that'll be something to keep an eye on as well. And really, there's not a whole heck of a lot else happening down at spring training. Good to see, by the way, Alvarado and Duran. They keep pitching those two guys right in front of each other there.
I like that.
Both dominated, right? Alvarado strike out today in his inning. Duran had two. So that back end of the bullpen is shaping up pretty nicely.
You know what, Mike? It's funny. It doesn't feel like the end of spring training, even though we got, 12 days because of the World Baseball Classic. Like, I feel like we're more focused on that, but they've been sending guys down the minor league camp. Like, next week when you go, that's the end, right? It's pretty much the conclusion of everything.
That's it. You're right. I mean, we were talking about this today. Next week is the last full week of games. Monday is the actual last game, Monday the 23rd, and then they open on the 26th, and we're firing, baby.
Yeah, we're rolling with Phillies today right off the bat, and that's what I always like about the first week, right? So Lehigh's going to be opening up. The Phillies are going to be opening up. You're going to get that opportunity. And look, I'm really hoping Lehigh makes Eden Miller available. I'm assuming they will because they pretty much make everybody available. But I want to hear how Eden Miller's doing, right? I think you and I are both kind of want to know what this guy's going to do this year. And
well, I wonder, Jeff, the fact that he couldn't do anything in spring training, if they're now going to have to scale back his timeline of, hey, we thought maybe this guy could help us out at some point this year, and maybe they're like, maybe that's a little bit too aggressive of a timeline.
Yeah, you know what? Do the Justin Crawford thing, right? He just stays down there the whole year. Now, from what I was told, Justin Crawford was going to get called up a couple times last year, and he was pretty close. But, the year may have moved at the deadline, or, they just weren't ready to pull the trigger yet because they wanted him to get at bats every day. I'm sure, I guarantee you that's what they're going to want out of Eden Miller. He will not come up unless he plays every day.
Well, the way Bohm's going so far this spring, he might not get that opportunity. Alec Bohm, 2 homers today. It puts his average up to 375. If he can hit like this, all right, you might not hear all the Bohm hate. You got Stott, who's having a good spring, although he has cooled off considerably. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts today for
Although he had a nice hit that wasn't out today. That he had a nice hit off a left-handed pitcher that went to the wall. I mean, would have drove in a couple of runs, but hey, It is what it is, right? That's baseball.
That is, yes. I mean, he's had a good spring, but he's down to 364. He was hitting about 700 last week.
Yeah, we knew that wasn't going to stick around.
No, it's not. Kemp, by the way, a couple strikeouts today. He's a guy, he played first base today. You and I both agreed I don't ever need to see Kemp play any other position other than left field. All spring long, he should be getting reps in the outfield. But Brian De La Cruz played left today. Phillies in action. They lead the O's 8-3 at the end of the sixth in Clearwater. Jeff Kerr.
By the way, this brings back your Garcia point, Mike Gill. So what if Garcia struggles? You got to move some pieces around. Maybe that's why they're playing Otto Kemp other positions.
Yeah, but is he really going to play first base?
No. But with Bryce's injury concerns over the last couple of years, you don't know.
But I would think, maybe, but I would think if Bryce Harper, let's say Harper got hurt for 3 weeks, I would think Alec Boehm switches to first and Kemp plays third.
He
Most
would,
likely.
yeah.
Yes.
Or Sosa plays third, depending on the lefty. But
right.
Remember last year, Mike, if you and I were on this talking about spring training, we'd be talking about Kyle Schwarber playing first base. And guess what? Never happened.
Yeah. By the way, before we let you go, I remember, you obviously covered the NFL for 10 years and are a Penn State guy. What do you know about Arnold Ebiketie?
Look, I liked him at Penn State. He was a Temple guy too. Transferred to Penn State from Temple. I really liked his burst off the line. I thought he'd be a better player than he was. But look, he does get to the quarterback, and Falcons fans seem to be a little upset that he was let go. I know he had, I think it was 8 sacks last 2 years, but he only had 2 last year or something like that. It feels like though you get him in Vic Fangio's system as a rotational guy, just feels like an improvement over Josh Uche or Aziz Ujulari, which really, I think anybody could. And I thought Uche played well last year, by the way, for what he was.
He played in spurts, right? He reminds me a lot of Ojulari, a shorter guy with longer arms who can get to the quarterback. But to me, this can't be you can't be done at that position.
No, did you see when I posted on X last night their pass rusher depth chart, their edge rushers, right? So
yep.
You got Josh Sweat.
I saw that. It made me think you can't be done.
Yeah, Josh Sweat. I said Josh Sweat, but he could be available, right? But Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith, Arnold Ebiketie, Brandon Graham. And by the way, Brandon Graham hasn't officially announced he's back yet. We're all assuming he's coming back. But
he's announcing he wants to play. It's whether they bring him back.
Yeah, I think he will be back in some capacity, but I do think they're in the market. I really do. It's I saw Eagles fans joke today about the A.J. Brown thing. Yeah, sure, give us Jared first. We'll give you A.J. Brown.
Right, exactly. All right, Jeff, have a good weekend, man. We'll talk to you next week. Actually, I'm off next week. I'll be in Florida, so
I got Josh next week?
Yeah, Josh will be here for a couple days. We got the tournament Thursday and Friday. I'm sure he'll catch up with you on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Yeah, so next time I see you, will that be when we start Phillies Today?
Probably Monday, 23rd.
All right. Yep,
all right,
sounds
man.
good.
See ya. All right, there's Jeff Kerr, everybody. Of course, you can follow him at Jeff Kerr, PHL, and the Phillies Today podcast. We're going to be doing a lot more Phillies coverage this year on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video on the X platform at Mike Gill Show. YouTube, 97.3 ESPN. Coming up, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, set to join us. We'll get his thoughts on everything that's going on in terms of the Phillies down in spring training. Also, want to get his thoughts on the WBC tonight. I know he's not a big WBC guy, but it is an interesting game here for the Phillies fans. By the way, Christopher Sanchez is pitching the early game tonight. If you want to check that out, it's Christopher Sanchez for the Dominican Republic pitching against Korea, I believe, is who they are facing. That's the early game, followed by USA and Canada. That's coming up next. Plus, listen for that sounder to go off. I want to congratulate our earlier winners from the 2 o'clock hour, Matt Napsekin, Todd in Northfield. We've had people watching the show on YouTube or X. If you are watching the show, you got bonus chances to enter. Pay attention, everybody. Sports Bash is still to come. 97.3 ESPN. All right, 332, Sports Bass Live. Keep it locked. Your chance to enter to win tickets to go see the Phillies take on the Orioles. We're just talking some Eagles there. We got Phillies on our mind. It is 8-4 now or something down there. It looks like it's raining in Clearwater, by the way. You know, I'm going next week. The weather's terrible. I'm going to the game on Tuesday, and it looks like it's supposed to be like 59 degrees at the game on St. Paddy's Day. Not thrilled about that. We got other things we want to get into right now, though. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, jumps on with us now on the Sports Bass Live on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, what's going on, man?
Hey, Mike, how are you today?
Everything good, and it's the weekend's getting here. You know, we're down to the final week of spring training, really, next week, and it feels with this WBC going on, people kind of lose focus on spring training and what's going on up here. But Andrew Painter pitched today, 4 strikeouts, but did give up the home run. The velocity kind of interesting. Is he a guy that you are definitely keeping a close eye on when this season is about to jump and start in 2 weeks?
Yeah, first of all, what you said about the season sneaking up on us is absolutely true. I was thinking today's March 13th. We're less than 2 weeks away from opening day, March 26th. So, this is a time of year. Seems like the older you get, the faster time goes, regrettably, basically. But it seems like this is a time of year when the sports calendar really, really moves quick. So, yeah, opening day will be here before we know it. And as for Andrew Painter, yeah, Mike, I'm concerned about him. But I would not be overly concerned because he's a back of a rotation guy. Like if they were expecting him to be Paul Skeens, to be the number 1, number 2, number 3 starter in this rotation, my concern level would be higher. But the drop in velocity bothers me, Mike. I'm getting some Spencer Howard vibes here as far as a guy who came out, had really good velocity, then ran to first base in the 3rd inning and couldn't throw the ball 80 miles an hour the next time he took the mound. So the drop in velocity on top of the rough AAA season last year, yeah, he's a guy, that we got to keep our eye on as the season progresses here. I'm not panicking, but I'm interested in what and how he pitches going forward.
All right, another guy, Bohm, 2 homers today, 1 yesterday. He's having a great spring. Should I buy into Bohm? Is this the year that he finally puts it all together? 22, 25 homers. He's already had, Mike, back-to-back 97 RBI seasons. But, does he get 110? Is he? And he's one of the few guys on this team that does hit for a high average. So, can I get a 285 with 25 homers and 110 ribby type of year on your contract year?
Yeah, I think it's possible, right? First of all, you just said the key phrase right there, contract year, right? And maybe this year in his contract year, I don't think that anybody's going to argue that Alec Bohm took a step back last season, right? I think we would all accept that at the plate, right, that he took a step back. But maybe this is the year he builds on that 97 RBI season and hits those 4 to 5 to 6 more home runs a year that puts him in a different class. If he can get up around 23, 24, 25 home runs, God forbid 26 home runs a year,
oh boy,
I think we're just going to think of him differently, right? This is a guy who was the National League starting all-star at third base a couple of years ago. This is a guy who has really worked to improve himself as a defensive player. I sometimes wonder, are we being a little bit hard on him? He is his own worst enemy a lot of times with just the facial expressions, the throwing of the helmet, the throwing of the bat. I think he's his own worst enemy at times. But, hey, is he a guy that can maybe, after a step back last year, take another jump forward? And, hey, all those people that said Aiden Miller is going to be the third baseman of the future, well, Aiden Miller is a 21, 22-year-old guy with a bad back in the minor leagues right now. Maybe it's time to maybe focus on Alec Bohm and not rush him out of town so fast.
Yeah, we'll see. And, that would be interesting. If he does have that kind of year, we've been talking about the Phillies finding ways to change this roster, and his name always comes up. If he has that kind of year, well, then do they have to think about bringing him back would be the story.
Yeah, it's interesting. Look, I'm sure if you got Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson alone and you said, would you like to have the problem of deciding that because Alec Boehm has had such a great year, we have to decide whether to re-sign him, let him walk, and turn it over to Aiden Miller? I bet you Dave Dombrowski would love to be sitting there in September or October saying, what are we going to do with Alec Boehm? He's played so well. Do we re-sign him or do we let him walk because we got him Aiden Miller? The Phillies would sign for that problem right now.
All right, Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Phils, as Mike said, we are less than 2 weeks from opening day, which is on March 26th. We'll be live at the Anchorage in Summers Point for our opening day watch party. So we are inside 2 weeks from that. And then obviously the baseball season will be here. And it looks like, by the way, the Phillies could get some better news than they thought on Zach Wheeler. I mean, it's almost seems like a fait accompli that he's going to pitch in the month of April, Mike.
Yeah, he is hitting every check mark, right? And apparently the bullpen session that he threw earlier this week was Todd Zalecki reported that Caleb Cotham, the Phillies pitching coach, said that was Zach Wheeler vintage bullpen like July, what Wheeler looks like in July or August. I would still caution everybody, although all the signs are positive here, I don't think the Phillies should rush Zach Wheeler. To me, it's more important to have Zach Wheeler healthy in October than it is in early May. So all signs are that he's progressing great, maybe faster than expected. I still think the Phillies shouldn't push him. You know, if he says he's ready on April 9th or 10th, there's nothing wrong with telling him, okay, give us another 7 days and be ready on April 17th or April 18th. You know, him missing one more start in April isn't going to cost you the pennant, and it might win you a playoff series in October. So, all signs are great with Zach Wheeler, but let's not rush him back. Let's give him the time to come back, and let's maybe give him an extra week, too, to come back also.
All right, Mike, obviously the other day, Team USA had a little kerfuffle with that whole situation. They have advanced. They will play tonight against Team Canada. It would be apropos that the United States beats Canada in hockey, and then Canada beats the United States in baseball, although I think they got an eye-opener the other day. But the one thing I found interesting, the lineup is out for today. They're going with Witt, Harper, Judge, Schwarber. Should the Phillies follow suit, or is DeRosa such an idiot that you don't want to do anything that he does?
Yeah, I don't like Schwarber in the cleanup spot for the Phillies. Team USA, obviously sounds good. Schwarber batting fourth right there. I don't like him in the cleanup spot. I like him in that first three, either in front of in front of Harper or behind Harper. Either way, I'm fine with. I just want Schwarber getting as many at-bats as he can. So I think that's why he's got to be in the first three for the Phillies. As far as tonight's game, Mike, I'm going to watch tonight's game, a little bit of tonight's game. I'm interested in these Bryce Harper at-bats. I want to see, what he kind of looks like at the plate. Not that I'm pushing any panic buttons because he's kind of had a lackluster spring a little bit. I just want to see what he looks like. Again, he's one of those guys that, is going to be kind of in the focus this season. And, you hear DeRosa say stuff like, we wanted to get Bryce Harper off his feet in game 3 of a tournament in March. That kind of raises an eyebrow. Now, a lot of things Mark DeRosa has said have raised an eyebrow. So is that just Mark DeRosa being Mark DeRosa, or is there a little more to it? So that's why I'm going to take a little look at Bryce Harper tonight. I want to see what he looks like at the plate.
Yeah, I agree. He has struggled a little bit. He is in the 2-hole tonight with Schwarber hitting for Team USA, 8 o'clock against Canada. And, of course, the United States lost to Italy their last time out. By the way, Christopher Sanchez, he will start at 6:30 for the Dominican Republic in the earlier game if you are somebody that's paying attention to all of that stuff. All right, let's transition, Mike, over to the Eagles stuff. So according to Mike Garafolo, this is interesting. By 4 o'clock today, which is 20 minutes from now, the NFL transactions need to be done, which means Philadelphia has to decide what they're going to do with Dallas Goedert. According to Mike Garafolo, the decision is tied to A.J. Brown. So if Goddard is released, then it would be more likely that they would hold on to Brown. But if he signs back here, that could be a sign that they trade A.J. Brown. We got 20 minutes here. Has anything in your mind changed with A.J. Brown? There were some reports today that the Rams are now interested. I know this thing keeps changing by the day. Is this one of those where June 1st, get back to me, or are the Eagles trying to get out of this Brown headache?
I think for cap reasons, I think it's a June 1st sort of situation. I think if they were going to do something in the next 20 minutes, now watch me say this, and they'll do something in the next 20 minutes, I believe we would have heard about it by now. Like if they had planned to, re-sign Goddard or release somebody, we would have heard about it by now. It is the question I come down to is I don't believe AJ is going to be on the team next year. I don't think they want to go through another season like they went through this season, and I think teams are going to wait the Eagles out to sort of decide before they make a trade offer. And I think the draft might indicate, give you an indication of which way the Eagles are going to go. If they take a receiver in the first or second rounds, I think you have your answer right there. Because, Mike, that's my question. You can tell me all you want that you don't want A.J. Brown on the team, that his time in Philadelphia has come to an end. It's better for both parties to move on. I just want to know who's catching passes for the Philadelphia Eagles next year. And if A.J. Brown isn't there, who is replacing him? It's a lot easier to say, let's move on from A.J. Brown. The harder question is, who's taking his place? All
right, we'll keep our eye on that, of course. If something happens there in the next 15 minutes or so, we'll have an eye on that. The last thing would have to be, we've talked over the years, Mike, about the Sixers and all the crazy stuff that's happened. Can they get any more snake bitten?
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. And again, we've talked about it several times. To me, it's almost reached a point where they've got to figure something out and try to go in a different direction here. But again, we've talked about the handicap of the salaries. Embiid, $70 million a year. Paul George's salary. Who's taking these guys? But this is a franchise, Mike, especially when you look at it, the Sixers wanted to do what the Oklahoma Thunder did, right? The Oklahoma Thunder was able to pull it off. The Sixers couldn't pull it off for whatever the reason it is. NBA teams tank and they managed to get better. The Sixers tanked and they just found themselves in an absolute sort of nightmare situation with injuries. They're headed in the wrong direction right now. I don't know what the answer is with this team other than I think they just might need a fresh start. And by fresh start, I mean everybody from the general manager to the coach to the star players. I think they just might need a different approach because what they're doing right now, it's not only not working, it's like banging your head against the wall and it's not working. It's not working normally. That would be one thing if you were just losing games, but they seem to invent injuries and ways to lose games. I've never seen a team that had this many of its star players get hurt. I mean, here's Maxi's out, Paul George is out, Edgecombe's out, Embiid's out, Kelly Oubre's out. I mean, who's in? Quentin Grimes?
No,
Not
well,
good enough.
It's funny. Bona, he was out, and so was they didn't even have a center on the roster last night. They had to play a game with essentially no center last night because I just never seen anything like it where the injuries just continue to mount up. And you're right. I think everybody is at that point. I was talking about this with my father in breakfast today. I said, listen, no one's going to take Embiid. No one's going to take George. You're not trading Maxey. VJ's back. So you're essentially going to come back next year, and the story will be you got to hope they stay healthy.
Yeah, and how do you sell that, Mike? That's the problem you're going to run into now, okay? How do you sell luxury suites at the arena in Philadelphia, whatever it's called now? How do you sell fans? How do you sell advertising for games? How do you get people excited about a season when your basically selling point is we're bringing back all these guys again, and we just hope they stay healthy, which, oh, by the way, they've never done in their careers. So I don't know how you sell it going forward in a town where the Phillies wanted to run back a 96-win team, and some people had problems with that. How do you run back, a 40-win team with a history of getting hurt? So, and again, you hit it. I don't know what the solution is. who takes Embiid, who takes George, who does what. But I think this team and this franchise is in badly need of a fresh coat of paint and a new start, almost like a little sherbet in between the entrees to sort of cleanse the palate going forward.
All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. And, of course, big weekend here before March Madness takes over next weekend, and we'll have March Madness for you all right here on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, have a great weekend, man.
All right, have a great weekend. We'll see you down the road. Thanks.
All right, Mike McGarry, everybody, from the Press of Atlantic City. Check out his work at pressofac.com. Still to come, the unsportsmanlike moment of the day. What did Chris Canty say about the Eagles? Could this really happen this year? Stick around and find out what he said. It's coming up next.
There are a ton of questions that are going on around this Philadelphia Eagles team, and usually we look to the coach and quarterback to be stabilizing forces, and I'm not sure that those two individuals, that tandem, can be considered that coming into 2026. So yeah, I think there's a ton of drama around the Philadelphia Eagles, and this could be a season where they potentially bottom out.
Chris Canty said that on Unsportsmanlike. It's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. It's brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, and installation. 609-390-3907. You know, the coach quarterback thing, I take that with a grain of salt. But what he said was the Eagles could bottom out. Is anybody looking at this season as you win the Super Bowl, the next year you get bounced in the wild card round, and then the bottom out comes? You know, because we've seen it a lot to teams. They hit the pinnacle, then they kind of take a step back, and then they never take that step forward again. The steps keep coming back. So how many people out there hear Chris Canty say, hey, I think the Eagles could bottom out, and then say, you know what, I never really thought of that, but is this team transitioning into kind of a rebuilding mode? And I ask that question like this, okay? The offensive line, aging, beat up, injured. You have the A.J. Brown situation. You're getting a little bit of a facelift on the defensive side of the ball. Is he off base about that? Are the Eagles potentially a bottom-out candidate? That's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. You can listen to Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings from 6 to 10 right here on 97.3 ESPN with Evan, Canty, and Michelle. Coming up, it is today's Football at 4. Adam Caplan is in the bullpen, ready to go. But first, I need caller 7 right now. The number is this, 609-573-3776. Be caller 7 right now, and you have a chance to win tickets to go see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. The package for the winner includes round-trip transportation on Friday, July 31st, 2 lower-level tickets to the game, plus you'll get lunch and drinks on the way to Baltimore. You get to see the Phillies and the Orioles with a ton of Phillies fans between the left field and third base line on the Phillies side of the field. Be caller 7 right now. You must be present to win at the Anchorage in Summers Point for our opening day watch party, March 26th, for the Phillies and the Rangers game. Good luck. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook, Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. And don't forget, Ocean's Madness Zone, March 19th through the 22nd. Catch every college basketball game and place your bets at Atlantic City's best sportsbook. While you watch, eat, and drink all tournament long. Turn it into a getaway with the Madness Zone hotel package, an overnight stay, plus a $50 food and beverage credit. Taste Atlantic City runs through March 31st with 3-course menus for $60. See Bert Kreischer April 3rd and 4th. Lenny Kravitz on May 16th at Ovation Hall. Book now at theoceanac.com. Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms, is back for our Friday conversation. And obviously 5 days of free agency. Adam, let's take a look at some of the things that the Birds have done so far. Let's start with some of the guys that they have added and re-signed.
Yeah, so Mike, when you hear the name Johnny Munt, could he be anything more than a blocking tight end? I mean, what a name Johnny Munt is. And he does turn 32 in November. He's an older player, near the end of his career, but the guy can block. It's the number one reason why he's still in the NFL. He was cut by the Jaguars, and that's concerning. But as long as he looks like he can still play, and the Eagles believe that, he will most likely be their starting wide tight end. That means he's the first guy that's going to be in there to block. And that's why they signed him, the number one reason. And yet another reason why the Eagles are going to be a running team again. Now, not that it should be anything different, but they'll be probably heavy 12 personnel, which means 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, 1 back, which they basically were last season and the season before that. You're going to see a lot of that. They might use a fullback, Mike. That's something we'll learn in May once they start OTAs. But yeah, Johnny Munt's here to do one thing, and that's the block.
Yep, he's the first guy on the offensive side of the ball that they brought in, and obviously we'll see we'll get to some of the guys they brought back, but he's the one guy from another organization they brought in.
Yes.
On the defensive side of the ball, they have lost 3 starters, but they started to pick up the pieces. What do you think of what they've done on the defensive side of the ball so far?
Yeah, the signing of Arnold Ebiketie I like a lot. He's what we call a DPR. He's a designated pass rusher. He's not a starting-level player. We talked about him at the trade deadline. That's a guy that would fit in great with the Eagles, and then they didn't trade for him, but it's a guy they've liked. That's why we actually talked about him. He played at Temple for 3 years. 3 years, and then 1 year at Penn State. He's got – what you love is the length, the 34 and 1/4 inch arms. I talked to someone who was at his pro day. Very explosive. I like your comparison to Azeez Ojulari. I know they're not built exactly the same, but they're both shorter than you'd like, but they have very long arms. Ebiketie about 6'2" and a quarter, but you got like the arm length. He's explosive. I mean, that's what you're looking for. Mike, his signing will have nothing to do with the draft. I mean, anyone on a 1-year deal has no impact on the team's decision what they're going to do in the draft. These are just guys they hope that could excel in the role that they have. And then Rick Woolen will be a starter for sure. He's on a 1-year deal. Again, this is not going to impact the draft, but as I said on our show that dropped this morning with Jeff Mosher and I, if Woolen's crushing it, if he could play consistent football, limit the penalties, play with discipline, wouldn't shock us by Thanksgiving if they extend his contract. I mean, they're giving him a nice 1-year deal, so they want to see more of him. And then they got Jonathan Jones in. Jonathan Jones is a corner. He's not a nickel. He's shorter than you'd like, but very competitive, 2-time Super Bowl winner. Near the end of his career, but he most likely will be the replacement for Dory Jackson. The difference is he won't be starting where Jackson did. So that gives them 2 new corners. They needed that. They probably need 1 more by training camp, whether it comes in the draft or free agency. And Mike, but I still believe if the opportunity arises, they're going to add a significant piece at edge if they can, via trade or maybe early in the draft, because they need more help at edge.
Yeah, Ebiketie is in, Woolen is in, Jones is in. Real quick, back to Woolen here. I mean, are you surprised the 1-year deal? A lot of people really like this deal for Philadelphia,
not at all.
And obviously he's he's been an up and down guy, and his ups are really up and his downs are really down. It seems like.
Exactly, and Mike, they tried to trade him at the trade deadline, Mike, and they were not going to bring him back. So no, look, you could give anyone a 10-year contract, but when can you get out of the contract? That's all that matters. There's no guessing here. It's a 1-year deal. The deal will expire unless they extend it before it ends next March. So, no, in fact, if I'm him, I take this 1 year enhanced deal. That's probably a little bit smarter on his end. And the Eagles have had a good history with guys on 1 year deals. They don't get them all right. Obviously, last year they missed on a lot of them, but they were small money. This is a much bigger deal cash-wise than anyone, way bigger than anyone they signed last year. But it's still a low cash spend for the Eagles, which is what we told people. But the big one they did not get was Jalen Phillips. They wanted him badly back on a multi-year deal. It just didn't happen. And they still need that big piece at edge. And that's kind of what they're missing.
All right, Adam, let's go to the guys they did bring back. We mentioned Johnny Munt as a guy at tight end from outside the organization, but they did bring back Grant Calcaterra as well, and it doesn't appear that they have done anything with Dallas Goedert by 4 o'clock today.
I'm a little bit surprised with Grant Calcaterra, I'll be honest with you, but just checking into it, this is my sense. With Johnny Munt, with Cam Latu, where the other staff use Calcaterra way too much to block, and the way that they ask the tight ends to block, they're going to do it differently here. I just see him being if he makes the team, just being used as a pass catcher strictly, and that's really all he can do at this point, Mike. He's on a 1 year deal. He needs to make the roster to get paid, and we haven't got the contract breakdown on him, but yeah, they're not even close to being done at tight end. They don't have a starting tight end right now, Mike. That's whether it's Goddard or somebody else. That's got to happen.
Agree with that, and I talked to Andrew and Jeff about this the other day. I hope they're not trying to say, you know what, we really like Calcaterra if he was given the opportunity, and we can go on the cheap at that spot.
No, they wanted to starting tight end. He's not. Trust me on this, Mike. There's zero chance he's their starting tight end. They don't look at him that way. It's just That's why he's on a 1 year value deal. They want a starting tight end, whether it's Goddard or David Njoku or Jonnu Smith or someone in the first couple rounds of the draft. I mean, this is kind of what of their many needs, Mike, a starting tight end is one of them.
All right, let's go to Braden Mann. That was an important one because obviously kickers and punters, if you were a kicker or punter in this offseason, you got paid, and they really liked Mann and got him for 4 more years.
Yeah, so it's under, it's in the neighborhood of $4 million with everything tied into it, as I'm told. But yeah, this is a guy they wanted back. He wanted to be back, and it's a good story because the Jets. He was drafted by the Jets, never really given a shot. Pittsburgh. He told us, Andrew and I hosted a show in Philly, and he kind of told us how he was kind of held hostage by the Jets. They couldn't make a decision, by the Steelers, and they couldn't make a decision, and they finally made a decision. The Eagles brought him in, and it was a great one. Just because the NFC was so strong with their punters, he didn't make the Pro Bowl, but he was terrific. And he's a really good holder, I'm told. I know that doesn't sound like much, but to coaches it sure does, and getting him back was a priority for them. They really did want him back.
Yeah, and as you just mentioned, a very important piece of the special teams, Braden Mann back for Philadelphia. But they lost a bunch of guys here. He's back. Sam Howell is not. Jahan Dotson is not. Kalen Granson is not. Matt Pryor goes to Arizona. Brett Toth, a guy that we've talked a lot about and how well he played for them last year, he's in San Francisco. So they need some more depth on the offensive line. The rest of the guys seem to be replaceable.
Yeah, boy, Mike, they are really light. They need 2 veterans of the offensive line. By training camp, they really need to have them. With Toth and Pryor gone, they need to be replaced. And that's something that, look, they don't have to do now. The longer you wait, the better. You save more money. And by the way, the Jahan Dotson deal, I cannot believe that the Falcons guaranteed, and I have the contract breakdown. I am shocked that they guaranteed $10 million. You have to remember, Mike, the Commanders did not want Dotson. They would have cut him if they couldn't find a trade partner, and the Eagles overpaid for him. I'm just astonished. Looking at his contract, Mike, I mean, Jahan Dotson right now will be starting for the Falcons. Like that's basically the contract structure. They guaranteed $8 million in year 1, and $2 million of $7 million in year 2. That's starter money. It's low end starter money, but unless they draft someone, Mike, Jahan Dotson's probably going to start for the Falcons.
Yep, and I guess the question would be, even though the Eagles did not use him all that much, do they need to bring in another wide receiver? Or do they like Darius Cooper? Do they, how do they view that third wide receiver role moving forward?
Yeah, they will. They'll add a receiver, draft or free agency. Yeah, absolutely. Darius Cooper, The hope is here he'll compete for the 3. That's a big jump for him. They just have Johnny Wilson come back from a major injury. And they got Johnny Wilson coming back. Johnny Wilson's coming back. Britton Covey's only a slot. And if you look at who they brought back, Quez Watkins is on their roster. He's on their offseason roster. I'm like, I can't believe it, but he is. But that, and Danny Gray's back. He's been hurt a lot, but can run. But these guys aren't good enough. So yeah, they'll definitely have some competition for Darius Cooper for the number 3.
All right, on defense, by the way, A.J. Dillon, Ben Van Sumeren, Fred Johnson, interesting. He got a lot of playing time, obviously, and then there's Goddard. They're all unsigned.
Yeah, boy, Fred Johnson, it would be a good because he could play right or left tackle. See, the question is, because the blocking scheme is going to change, and with more zone blocking, you want more athletic guys who can move. They don't have to be super talented. Look at the Niners other than Trent Williams. They just have certain body types and footwork that they're looking for. Ben Van Sumeren was not tendered as fully expected as a restricted free agent. I'm very interested to see if they bring him back. Is he still a fullback and not a linebacker? And then will they use one? Because, again, this is a combination of 2 different schemes, of 2 different West Coasts. You're going to see some Kyle Shanahan influence, and, of course, you're going to see some Sean McVay influence. I'm really interested to see what that looks like.
All right, let's go defense. We know Phillips gone. We know Dean gone. We know Blankenship gone. Ojulari, Uche. So a lot of edge rushers gone. Brandon Graham says he wants to play. We'll see if they, bring him back. Adoree Jackson, Marcus Epps. So they've taken a lot of hits on defense.
Yeah, Mike, for BG to come back, because let's say they add a significant piece in free agency in a trade, or let's say they spend a second-round pick on an edge. As long as they're not trading Nolan Smith, there's been no indication they're doing that. I don't see room for – they don't really need a 5th guy other than maybe a developmental guy because you've got Smith and Hunt. Hunt's going to be starting. You got Ebiketie. And then if they get that 4th guy, you really – now they've got Jose Ramirez, who had one great college year, was drafted by the Buccaneers, who's on their offseason roster. So, honestly, Mike, it comes down to what they do. Now, it's kind of like they send the bat signal out for him. They could wait till August. It's really the time frame is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. They could just play this thing out and see if they need him or not. And BG made it pretty clear he's not retiring, and he showed he could still play. It's kind of remarkable, Mike. He turns 37 next month. It's 38, excuse me.
He wouldn't go anywhere else to play, though. No.
Of course, right? No. I'd say this: you never say never. We remember that Cleveland had interest in him at one point, or somebody like another team did. But yeah, I just can't imagine. And I talking to BG, over time, I know he's going to live in the area for sure. His kids are going to school here, so yeah, I don't see him leaving. But I'd watch that edge thing, man. That they've been sniffing around the big names, and nothing's worked out so far. And then, of course, you have the draft. So that's coming up.
That is coming up, and, of course, we'll be all over that. We'll have details on this year's draft party, April 23rd. And, of course, football at 4. We'll have more next week right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Adam, appreciate it, man.
Thanks, man.
There's Adam Caplan, our Football at 4, of course, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. And, Adam, talks about all the guys that they lost on the defensive side of the ball. They did bring back 3 players on the defensive side of the ball, or bring in 3 players on the defensive side of the ball. One, Reek Woolen will definitively, I would think, start. Ebiketie, more of a situational guy, in my opinion, so I don't think he will be an every down player. So we'll see. That means they probably still need to do something. They still need to do something to save them. By the way, Brisker, where did he sign, Josh? Do you know? Brisker, I did see he signed a 1-year. I think he got 1 year, $5.5 million for Brisker. I just forget where he ended. What is it, the Rams? I don't remember. Where he ended. I do know that he's off the board, though. So no Jaquan Brisker if you were somebody who thought that the Eagles could go bring him in. Pittsburgh. The Steelers signed Brisker. All right, so he's off the board as well. Listen, that first wave of free agency happens, and that's it. It is like a huge drop-off, and then it just, you wait, and those first 2 days kind of hit you, and then you get nothing. Right? I mean, there's just not a whole heck of a lot that's going to excite you or start or be like, a big move for you. But I'm trying to think, Ebiketti's out there. There's one guy that I have minor interest in, which would like if you had Ebiketti as the specialty pass rusher, could you bring in like Epinesa as the run stuffer, kind of a set the edge kind of guy?
Epinesa can also play on the interior as well.
Well, and he's a bigger guy. He's more of like would be an edge, like a set the edge guy. He's not a great pass rusher.
No, but what I'm saying is his line versatility.
Well, sure. I don't think they really need an interior pass guy, but sure, if he could play some inside, that's helpful. But I'm looking as a guy who could play on the end. One of the things that Jalen Phillips was really good at is he could play against the run on the edge.
Yes.
And Brandon Graham is a good edge guy who sets the edge.
But see, I was thinking Graham, they also kicked him in a lot last year. Or do you think that was just because
that was
Carter
because
stuff?
Jalen Carter ended up getting hurt.
Okay, so you're not seeing the Graham being kicked in as a precedent, more of like a necessity.
Yeah, I think they needed someone to kick in there, and then he actually ended up doing a pretty good job. And I think they, kind of said, all right, we can get some. He didn't get that many snaps, 8 to 10. But I'm looking at a guy who would be more of your first, it's hard to say first and second down because guys are throwing the ball all over the place. But he would be more of a guy who's out there to kind of set the edge against the run. And then you would bring in Ebiketti on like those obvious passing situations.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Epinesa, who's with the Bills, I don't think he has signed. I haven't seen anything unless something happened today that I might have missed. Today, I got to be honest with you, I haven't seen a whole heck of a lot happen today. Has anything like major happened on this Friday free agency day? I haven't really seen all that much. A lot of it is centered around this Diana Rossini stuff about the A.J. Brown discussions not being squashed at this point yet. So I'm keeping an eye on that. And the big thing last night was Ebiketti and Jones coming to Philadelphia. Other than that, not much.
I mean, the only news that might relate to Philadelphia is the release of L'Jarius Sneed. Do you think the Eagles have any interest in him or not?
Would have thought so had it happened before the Woolen deal, but I think they probably would have taken Woolen ahead of Sneed.
I would agree.
Yeah. But I like Sneed, actually. I think he's a playmaker. I do like Sneed, but I don't think and he got released by the Titans today. By the way, did you see the Titans' new threads?
I did. They're fine. I was kind of hoping for a little more nostalgia, but
wow, you're not into the Oiler uniforms.
I am into the Oiler uniform. I felt like it was too aggressively modern.
I don't know. I thought
like
they
the type on the back and stuff. I felt it was too contemporary.
Oh, okay. I thought they did a really good job of nailing the Oilers.
I like the color scheme.
Oh, yeah,
I just don't like the type.
Just say I'm looking at the I don't know what you're referring to that you don't like.
Like where the name is.
It's very basic.
Where the name is. It's very like block.
Okay, you don't like the nameplate.
Yeah.
What about the uniform?
The color I like.
Yeah.
I said I didn't like how the name and the number is on the back.
Okay.
I know, I'm nitpicking. I get it.
I was going to say. This picture here, you can't even see the back of the uniform. The only picture you can see, there's one picture of Cam Ward where his back is to you. But other than that, every picture I see is all the front. And it's almost an exact replica of the Houston Oiler uniform, except for instead of the Oiler thing on the helmet, they have the T, which used to be on the old color uniform of the Titans, which was a navy. They're going to that Houston Oiler baby blue and red now. So they do look pretty sharp. I got to give them credit. They nailed those retro looks. I thought so anyway. The nameplate be damned. I thought they did a pretty good job with it. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Big day for Alec Boehm today. Couple of homers for Boehm. The Phillies win. And Andrew Painter got the start earlier today. Pitched okay. 4 strikeouts, 2 2/3. He did give up a homer, a long ball. The fastball, Jeff Kerr has it on his Twitter. Let me see. He wrote something about this. Jeff was on last hour. Can't remember what he said. let's see. It was Painter, first inning, 96.8 velocity. Second inning, 95.5. Third inning, 94.8. So he dipped all 3 innings, and one of those ended up being a home run. All right, more Sports Bash coming up. 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Don't forget that sounder is going off 2 more times today. Listen for it, or make sure you pay attention if you're watching on YouTube, on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel, or on the 97.3 ESPN X platform. There's more ways to enter. Check it out right now on YouTube or on X on 97.3 ESPN. 429, Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. How's everybody doing on a happy hour Friday? You know, it was snowing yesterday. I guess that's done. It's raining in Clearwater today. For the Phillies game, it was rain coming down. What else are we going to get served, right? What other apocalyptic weather situation could happen on the East Coast?
Flooding? Oh, wait, that already happens every
I was
week.
saying, you had a blizzard and flood. Was it the blizzard? Didn't it come with, like, flooding the blizzard, or was that another winter storm?
No, you're not mixing it up. Yeah, when you were away, the one blizzard that came through, it was actually worse for some of the islands because the blizzard was hitting at the same time as high tide.
Yeah. Well,
So-
the one snow that was the blizzard, though, wasn't as bad as the one before because the one before wasn't as much snow, but it was freezing ice the next day.
Right.
And that caused the snow to freeze, and it stuck around for like 2 weeks.
Right, it took 2 weeks, 2 months, it felt like.
Yeah.
By the time it finally got melted, some places still have some snow. But the one where you were gone was one that really stunk because you had over 100,000 people without power. And so it made everything worse. So it was bad if I got the snow on the ground. It's bad if there's flooding. And I got no power at my house. Like, come on, man.
Right, we got people texting in and says, I'm in Summers Point, and it is windy as heck. There's crap blowing around anywhere. So now, we had snow yesterday, and there's rain in Clearwater. And now we're having a windstorm.
So you're saying it's a perfect day to stay inside for Happy Hour Friday.
Yeah, but the problem is, you got the Big East tonight. Now, I'm a big fan of the Big East tournament, and it's a classic Big East tournament, right? You've got St. John's coming up against Seton Hall, and then you've got UConn against Georgetown. These are 4 of the founding members of the original Big East.
I thought you were going to say founding fathers there for a minute.
Nope. And I think I read that this is the first time, I think, don't quote me on the year, but I think it was since either 1994 or 2004 that 4 founding members of the Big East made it to this stage of the tournament. Now, Villanova lost last night. They are also a founding member of the Big East. But I think it's the first time since either 94 or 04. I said, I can't believe that. Because keep in mind, all the incarnations of the Big East since the original 8 teams, I think there was 8 that started
1994.
1994. This is the first time since 1994, since 4 teams that started the original, I think there were 8 teams originally in the Big East. Could be wrong about that. It was only a basketball conference.
Would you like to name the original founding members?
Was it 8?
Let me count it here. They don't say the number; they just list them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 7.
There were 7. It was Georgetown,
Yep.
UConn, St. John's, Seton Hall, Villanova, Providence.
Villanova is not on the list. Villanova was the 8th team to come later.
Okay, so then Providence.
Yep.
And there's one more?
You're missing one. I can give you a hint, but it might make it too easy.
Is it Syracuse?
Syracuse is one of the original, but not the one that I'm looking for.
Is it Boston College?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. I want to give you a chance to figure it out on your
Yeah,
own.
no, Boston College. So I thought there was 8 originally. I guess there was only 7 originally.
And then Villanova joined later to make it 8.
Okay. So, and then after that is when, so the Big East.
Or at least it's according to the Hartford Current. The Hartford Current might be wrong. For all I know.
I would imagine, because the Big East, I think, was, obviously in that Northeast area, UConn is a founding member. So then after that, it was a basketball conference for the first X amount of years of its existence. And then, of course, they saw the money that was coming in from football, and they created a football conference, which had 8 teams in it.
Here's a little interesting factoid. Did you know that when the Big East was first formed, there were 2 schools that actually turned down invitations?
Yeah, Penn State was one of them. And
Can you
that
name the
was
other one?
Joe Paterno. He went to the Big Ten. He wanted to go to the Big Ten. He did not want to go. I'm imagining the other one was, I want to say, Pitt.
No. Holy Cross.
Well, that was a bad move by them.
Right? You would think that should have been a smart move. They're like, no, thanks.
Well, so the basketball conference forms, but they're doing really, really well. Big Monday, and, they had Villanova wins the national championship in 85. You had those great, the 1 year in the national championship, the Final Four, 3 of the 4 teams were Big East teams, and they became, larger-than-life coaches. Raleigh Massimino, Jim Boeheim, John Thompson, P.J. Carlesimo. He was the head coach at Seton Hall. You had all these very high-profile, Lou Carnesecca, very high-profile coaches. And the problem was they weren't making the money that the football conferences were. So they created a football conference, which began with 8 schools. Now, I believe the 8 schools in the football conference were Pitt, Boston College, Rutgers, Temple, Miami, West Virginia, Syracuse.
Well, they were already on the list, yeah.
And
There's one you haven't named it all yet.
Who was the other team that was in the Big East for football when they started the football conference? Pitt, West Virginia, Rutgers, Temple, Miami, Boston College, Syracuse, and there's one more?
There's one more.
Virginia Tech.
There you go.
Yeah, it was Virginia Tech. So they were the 8 teams that played in the Big East. That was the Big East when I was in West Virginia. They were the 8 schools. And then Boston College, Virginia Tech, and Miami, they all left to go to the ACC.
Correct.
They brought in to replace them South Florida, the Bulls, I believe, was the replacement for Miami. Kind of what they tried to do there was, hey, we'll bring South Florida in, and that will basically be – but I will say, once Miami left the Big East to go to the ACC, they never were able to really – like when they were in the Big East, they were like not quite the Miami that they were under the Jimmy Johnson years, but they still were a nationally well-known – like when you played them, and if you beat them, it was a big deal. Right. Not quite what they are now. Now they did have a good year this past year. They brought in South Florida. I think Louisville was one of them that they may have brought in.
And then Louisville left for the ACC too.
Yeah, they were just grabbing teams and sticking them in there. But Temple got kicked out of the Big East because they were so bad.
They were atrocious.
They got kicked out of the Big East for football. Now, they never played basketball in there. Rutgers was a horrendous program in the Big East for football, and they never played basketball in the Big East. But, yeah, the football conference there started to fall apart as they kind of got picked off by the ACC. People started taking the teams away. Then they were just putting some random teams in there. I can't even remember. They don't even have a Big East football conference anymore. They just decided, you know what, let's go back to our roots, and they have this basketball conference. And, by the way, for the first time since 1994, the 4 teams in the Final Four are all the original teams. So that's kind of cool to see. I just can't believe that. You know, I just saw the other day, by the way, it was here in Atlantic City at the MAC. Jerry McNamara is the coach of Siena. Yep. They are going to the NCAA tournament. It was, I think I saw 11 years ago this week was that 6 overtime game between Syracuse and UConn when Jerry McNamara, I think it was Khalid Al-Amin, that team, they were going back. That was one of the, now, obviously it's a 6 overtime game, but it's in the Big East tournament. And was it a semifinal game? But
it's either quarter or semi.
It was one of the coolest.
I just remember that game because, not just because of the overtimes, but because it felt like every time Syracuse might lose, McNamara hit another big shot and another big shot. Like, he was just out of his mind.
Yeah, he was. That was a epic game to watch. Like, it was one of those things where you may have been somewhere and then you kept moving to see it at a different spot. And like, hey, you started here, you started at this person's house, you started at that party, you ended up at that place. Right. It was just an awesome night. But, the Big East tournament, they sold out the Big East tournament last night at Madison Square Garden. So there's still, well, that was a Villanova-Georgetown game. So those alumni, Villanova-Georgetown, still something. How about that, though? So Jim Boeheim spoke out the other day because Syracuse fired Adrian Autry, who was a great player at Syracuse. But think about this. Syracuse used to hold some weight, right? Like if you said Syracuse basketball, that was like something.
Correct.
You almost, if I was to say to you right now, do you know what Syracuse's record was? Like where
Nope.
They're completely irrelevant. And one of the things that Boeheim was saying is, look, it's not Autry's fault. He's a good coach. He's like, Syracuse has no NIL money. They're just not keeping up with the times. And he said the three teams in the ACC that were the three worst teams in – now, just having a good NIL doesn't automatically mean success. Kentucky in the SEC had a $22 million payroll this year. Think about that. Kentucky basketball had a $22 million payroll this year and did not win the conference. The second team in the SEC, I think the payroll was like $12 million. So they outpaced everybody by like $10 million. And that was a big storyline. In fact, do you hear Dick Vitale, what he was saying? Because they lost to Florida, and the guy who was doing the play-by-play with Dickie V was saying, well, they showed they can play with Florida. And Dick Vitale said, they're getting paid $22 million. There's no moral victories here. You're Kentucky. You're Kentucky, baby. You can't be saying a moral victory. You're Kentucky. I loved it. He's right, though.
He is right.
He's so right.
There is no moral victory.
But Syracuse, it's amazing how far they have fallen as a program. And it goes to show how important the coach is, at the college level. You talk about it all the time. In the pro level, you got the most talented guys. You can overcome a coach just being meh. At the college level, not the case. That guy can do so much to elevate a program. Now, Boeheim had said he thought it was a mistake to get rid of Autry because of the NIL situation, that the next guy coming in is probably going to go under the same situation. If you can't pay the players what you need to pay them to get them to go there, that Syracuse will struggle. So he's probably not wrong about that. I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm glad to see the Big East. St. John's is back. They're playing in the semifinals tonight. Seton Hall, by the way, Sheen Holloway, who we've had on the show before, he was at St. Peter's. You remember that St. Peter's run from a couple of years ago?
Absolutely.
He was the coach of that team. And then, of course, he played at Seton Hall. And then Seton Hall plucked him to go take over the Seton Hall program. So Sheen Holloway, within 2 years, takes Seton Hall to the finals, the semifinals, I should say, of the Big East tournament. And then who's the other one? Oh, it's UConn, Danny Hurley, which, by the way, his brother Bobby Hurley just got fired by Arizona State. Yes.
Arizona is actually a good team. Arizona State, not so much.
State, not so good. Arizona is very good, yes. And then lastly, it is Georgetown, who struggled this year. They that was an upset last night, them beating Villanova. So that's a little bit of the Final Four. You can listen, the Final Four of the Big East. You can listen to that coming up in the next hour here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN. What else happened last night? I was watching a lot of these college basketball games because we're getting down to, this is the final weekend of the college basketball tournaments. And, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, the Miami of Ohio. Now, some people think they still have a shot to get in. I would not believe that they're going to get in with that loss.
I hope not.
In their tournament. No, I don't say I hope not. I would
do.
like to see that group of kids. They had a unblemished regular season. I just think if you are being realistic, their resume should not get them in. I'm not hoping they don't get in. Oh, the other thing that's what I was talking about. This whole bizarre story with the court in the Big 12. Has anybody heard this story?
I love this story.
So the Big 12 had a glass court.
Right, it was an LED court, so they could like change like the lines and the graphics, and they could have like different visuals throughout the day. So like for example, like there would be the logo for each team on there. They would have like different like things flashing like during like timeouts on there.
Yeah, so the lights would change and the graphics would change and like the Big 12 logos were on there, and then one end of the court where you were shooting was your team's logo. The other end of the court would be the other team's logo. So it was a cool concept. Well, the players were slipping all over the place. They were slipping and falling, and it was like playing on an ice skating rink. So the Big 12 had to step in, and they have made the decision to swap out the court. I mean, first off, good for them. Good for them for not being, so obtuse to say, no, we're sticking with this court through hell or high water. Because I got to imagine, any idea what they paid for that court?
Probably a lot.
I would.
Look it up.
Good guess, Kimasabi.
I thought you might have had it on hand.
No, probably a lot. Yes, I'm assuming they paid a lot of money for the court. I don't know what they paid for the court. I'm very intrigued by what that cost them. Now, I will say, listen, nobody needs that court. It doesn't look good on television. Anytime we talk about it during the stupid play-in in-season thing, the blue court, the green court, the aqua court, the red court, nobody wants to see that. So last night I'm watching, it was either last night, I think it was on Tuesday, West Virginia BYU. And the court is like gray. Nobody wants a gray court. Big 12 don't need a gray court. And then they were saying the problem was they couldn't see and decipher where the out-of-bounds lines were. They couldn't see and decipher the three-point line. I mean, all the other stuff was cool, right? When you were on the court during a timeout, the court said timeout on it. They had the graphics changing based on all the different stuff. But you're playing the actual game. You can't see the three-point line because it's an LED line. It was just a complete disaster.
So, according to the Kansas City Star and CBS Sports, while the exact number the Big 12 spent has not been released, according to their investigative reporting and a company called ASB Glass Floor, which is what typically these companies, these sports use for LED courts, they say that it takes over $2 million to install, another $185,000 for technical support. So you're approaching about $2.2 million, they say, that they project it would cost for the 2026 Big 12 tournament court.
Terrible. So they had to get rid of it, right?
And they had to move.
So what are they going to do? I wonder what happens to that court.
Well, here's the thing. According to the Kansas City Star, the court is actually supposed to last for 25 years. So apparently, they're not getting rid of the court permanently.
What are they going to do with it? Nobody wants to play on that thing.
They don't have an answer right now.
It's supposed to last for 25 years, as opposed to a hardwood floor that lasts for how long?
Longer?
I mean, I guess, listen.
Longer?
Well, no, they last for as long as you, like,
As
they
the
do
wood
start
does,
to slip and stuff like that. I will say that.
Right,
Now,
the wood starts giving a little bit.
yeah, I listen, I get it. Like, if it's supposed to be, it lasts for 25 years, guess what? Get a new court. Hey, I got a great idea. Let's put glass down. I'm one of those people. You ever, like, I'm afraid of heights. And you see those things that, like, let's say you're, like, upstairs somewhere and the floor is glass and you can see through the glass to, like, what's below you. I'm not walking on that. There was a brewery I was at. I was in the Poconos at a brewery. And the floor in this one area was glass. It was like, really hard, like, plexiglass almost. And you could see, like, down, I don't know what was below there.
By the way, the LED court is actually the main court for the T-Mobile Arena in Kansas City. So this is actually their primary court now, floor.
Who?
for the T-Mobile
Who plays
Arena in
there,
Kansas City.
Nobody plays games there. I mean, maybe, nobody. There's not an NBA team there.
No.
No.
But they've used it for other events,
Yeah.
according to the Kansas City Star.
Well, I thought that was, when I first heard about this glass court, all I'm thinking is about this brewery that I've been at, and other places too. Like when I was in Thailand, they have that deck. It's like the tallest building out there. You can take it. I won't even go up that high. I went up to a certain floor and I said, all right, that's all I can do for you. But you go out there, and it's like glass, and you can see like all the way down to like 80-some floors. I'm like, I'm out on that one. All right, Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. A couple things that we're the college basketball season. This is like it's a shame because college basketball, which is in a really good spot right now, by the way. You got star players, very good draft class, a lot of good teams. I think this tournament's going to be really good. You've got – this is the week, though. I mean, there was a time where college basketball was the whole season, and it's not like that anymore. In fact, I couldn't tell you who won either of the Duke-North Carolina games. You have any idea? You don't have to try to guess if you don't. I didn't even pay attention.
I mean, I don't really know.
I'm saying, but that used to be a game that everybody just knew.
Yes, everybody stopped what they were doing to watch that game.
But that's how college basketball has changed to the point where the biggest game on the college basketball schedule isn't even that big of a deal anymore. But it picks up now. I mean, it is still a very cool thing. Although, did you see this story? Speaking of college basketball, the CBI tournament announced it's canceling this year. I don't know why.
Because nobody watches.
Nobody did watch it, but I got to imagine. It says, due to circumstances beyond our control, the CBI will not be held this year. We will see you next year.
Yeah, it's called We Don't Have the Money.
You think?
Yes. You think I think it's cheap? Put on a tournament?
No, but that's my point is
also, doesn't the team that wins win money or something?
I don't think so.
No, maybe
could be wrong about that. I've never seen the CBI. I've never watched the CBI, but I do know that it is basically teams that don't even make the NIT go. Isn't there another one though? The NIT, the CBI, and isn't there like a third runner-up tournament? I don't know. You don't have to check that one out yet. All right, Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN. The madness begins next week. This week at this time, you will be listening to the madness right here on the Sports Pass Live on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, right now I need caller 7, though, 609-573-3776. Caller 7 right now. You are entered for this year's Phillies opening day watch party, where one lucky winner is heading down to Baltimore, Camden Yards, to see the Phillies take on the Orioles on Friday, July 31st. You'll get a pair of tickets, round-trip transportation, lower-level seats for the Phillies and the Orioles. You must be present to win at the Anchorage, 823 Bay Avenue in Summers Point, where one lucky winner will be drawn, and they will be going to see the Phillies take on the Orioles at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Once again, be caller 7 right now at 609-573-3776. And don't forget, you must be present to win. Last hour of the show, hanging out with you. I am Mike Gill. This is the Sports Match Happy Hour Friday, everybody. And Happy Hour Friday to Dan in Absecon, Jeff in Absecon, Richard in Little Egg Harbor, Philip in Ocean City, Matt in Absecon. Absecon's a popular spot today. Todd in Northfield. You guys have all qualified for a chance to win a trip to go see the Phillies play the Orioles. We'll see you at our Phillies opening day watch party. Don't forget, you must be present to win. We will be at the Anchorage in Summers Point opening day for the Phils, where the Phils will play the Rangers. Phils win today. By the way, they were up 8-3 at one point. They finished the game winning 11-8. I didn't see how they scored the last couple of runs there. But Alec Boehm, 2 for 3, 2 homers in the game today, 4 RBI. He's having a really good spring. Everybody buying into Boehmer with the homers today. Let's not get too crazy yet. And I'm a Boehm guy for the most part, but I don't know that Boehm is ever going to give us the power that you're looking for. But if he does, the Phillies are going to have an interesting conundrum on what to do with him moving forward. Let's just say, for instance, Boehm has a good, solid season. And what's a good, solid season, Mike Gill? Well, all right, 285, 24 homers, 110 RBI. What do? If he gives you that type of season, then what? He is a free agent. Keep that in mind. Boehm is a guy that has been maddening at times. He's a guy that started an all-star game. He's had 97 RBI in 2 consecutive seasons. If he gave you that type of year, I'll tell you what, number one, you probably won 110 games, right? If Boehm gives you that type of year, you had a breakout season. You won 100-plus games. But I think a lot of people have been yearning to see what is next for this Phillies lineup. They want this team to kind of change this roster over a little bit. And if Boehm has a big year like that, would the Phillies be inclined? Like, are they choosing between Boehm and Stott? Now, keep in mind, Stott is not a free agent at the end of the year. Boehm is a free agent at the end of the year. But if Boehm has a year like that, I don't know. Are you like locked into bringing Boehm back, and then you move Aiden Miller to second base, and you try to move Stott? Let's say Stott doesn't have a good year. I don't know. There's a lot that could happen this season because of it. But I was thinking today, because we were talking with Mike McGarry in the 3 o'clock hour, about opening day is less than 2 weeks away. It was 2 weeks exactly from yesterday. So now we're inside 2 weeks to opening day. We're all going to be at the Anchorage, Phillies gear. I actually had the Phillies gear on today here, Josh. Did you know? I had my Phillies gear on today. Bang. See that? Hold on a second. There you go.
You got to hit it under the vest.
Well, yeah, it's always chilly in here, so I always have to keep something to keep me a little warmer because of the air conditioning. See the air conditioning for the people watching on YouTube. You can see the air conditioning right behind me there. So, and I'm not complaining about it. I like the fact that it's a little cooler.
The funny part is that's not even the unit that makes it the most cold in here. There's actually 2 different sets of airflows that come in this room.
Well, it's supposed to be theater of the mind, Josh, and the people watching on YouTube can actually see the unit, and they're like, okay, that's why it's so cold. And now you're making it like it's not really cold because of that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I ruined it.
You ruined the whole theater of the mind. See, that thing behind me is actually a prop. It doesn't actually work. And
that's not true, but okay.
Yeah. But I was trying to get everybody to play along, okay? It is chilly in this room. That's
Don't
why
let facts get into good, but good.
Yeah.
We have a good story.
But
right?
I do have a little Phillies gear on today. I'll have some Phillies gear on for the opening day as well. But that being said, opening day 2 weeks away, and the Phillies are kind of out of sight, out of mind right now because of this game tonight. Now, did you see the lineup in the game tonight?
The WBC lineup?
Yes, the United States lineup. So they are going with Harper in the 2-hole and Schwarber in the 4-hole. So, by the way, there's an update here. According to Pro Football Talk, the Goddard deadline is actually midnight, not 4 o'clock. the 4 o'clock deadline. So according to Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, free agency began on Wednesday. Goddard, though, is still a member of the Eagles until Friday. The team and the tight end agreed to push back the void date on his contract from midnight Tuesday to Friday. It's kind of a procedural move so that the two teams had the opportunity to work out a contract. So does this suggest that the Eagles really want to bring him back and are just trying to find a way to do it? Like, the fact that the two – I've never even heard of this before. Have you ever heard of a situation – maybe I'm wrong. I'm just saying. I have never heard of a situation where a guy was a free agent, but they agreed to push back the free agent time so that the two teams could prevent the player from actually becoming a free agent so that they can work out a deal. Now, here we are at 5 o'clock on Friday night. The deadline's at midnight, and the two teams have not come to an agreement yet. So this is fascinating to me. Is the inevitable about to happen here? Does he hit free agency? Or are we at a situation where they can't come to terms on a deal? Or do they just get this done right before? Like, this is pretty – I don't think I've ever heard of this before. I don't think I've ever heard of a situation where the player has pushed off his ability to become a free agent. Now, that obviously means that
He really wants to come back.
he would like to come back here. But don't you think the Eagles as well are pushing this back to acquiesce with him because he would have to want to come back. They would have to, want him to come back too, right?
Absolutely.
So this is something I don't think I've never seen something like this before.
I've never heard of this before either, and it leads me to think that maybe the deal is more likely to get done than we previously thought. Because if you would have asked me a month ago or 2 weeks ago, I would have said Dallas Goedert's not coming back.
Well, we thought about this all last year, right? All last year it was, they're not bringing him back. And then they went out and signed multiple tight ends, right? They signed multiple tight ends, Kylan Granson and Harrison Bryant. And we're thinking, okay, they're laying the groundwork down to
A world without Goddard.
not have Goddard come back here. And then they end up getting Goddard back. Well, now, first thing they do this year is bring in a tight end. Well, and you have to in the event that you can't get Goddard to come back.
Right.
But I've never heard of such a thing where they're pushing the date back on his free agency. So in other words, no other teams can really even negotiate with him yet because he's essentially not a free agent yet.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, was this part, Howie Roseman at the NFL Combine said, hey, we're going to be talking with Dallas's agent this week. Now, 2 weeks later, you have to wonder, was this part of the conversation? Did they have a conversation at St. Elmo's at 1 o'clock in the morning over some drinks? And Howie and the agent turned to them and be like, look, can we just figure out a way to make this work? Like, is there a number? Like, what can we do here? And maybe that was the groundwork for now you're looking at a situation where both sides are legitimately trying to reconcile and find I guess it would be a number that works out for everybody.
You would think, but you would also think that by giving the extension that you're at the point now where you would have been able to come to terms, right?
Maybe.
They haven't done anything else.
But, I mean, keeping you away from talking to other teams leads me to think that you really want to be here, right? Like, for Goddard and his team to say, we're not going to talk to other teams. We're going to keep talking to you.
So this is from the Pro Football Talk. I said Mike Florio is actually Shireen Williams, who writes for Pro Football Talk. Citing Zach Berman of The Athletic, it's a procedural move that gives the sides more time to work out a deal. It also prevents $20 million in dead money for 2026 from hitting the Eagles' books right now. So he's pushing this off so that his contract doesn't expire, which would then put $20 million of dead money on the Eagles' ledger. and I guess prevent them from trying to do some things that they're trying to do. But I guess the big question is, does this prevent the A.J. Brown stuff at all? Because according to a lot of people that follow the Patriots, a buddy of mine works in New England on WEI radio up there, and he said that he believes that this will be a direct signal of what will happen with the A.J. Brown stuff. So that if they this is very confusing. Again, I have not seen anything like this happen before where they've pushed this off. So in other words, if Goddard gets released, then it's a situation where the Eagles will probably bring back A.J. Brown. According to Nick Cattles, who works for the radio up in New England, he said, it's a tough situation that Howie is in right now. If you void Goddard's contract, fine. Then you are theoretically keeping Brown. But what if you really don't want to keep him, or behind closed doors he signaled he wants out, you cut Goddard, and then you lose both of them? How about that situation?
To which I think everybody would panic, because then it goes back to the question that has been asked multiple times this week. If both Goddard and A.J. Brown are here, who are you throwing the ball to?
If you're Philadelphia, well, you got Devontae Smith. That's one. Obviously, you're happy about that. You got Darius Cooper. He's a wild card here. How much do they like Darius Cooper? That's a big question that we don't know the answer to. And then, of course, you don't have much. You have Grant Calcaterra. I have said maybe the Eagles like Calcaterra more than they're letting on. Adam Caplan was on earlier. He seemingly said they're not looking at him as a tight end one. That's not what I'm saying either. I don't think they're looking at Calcaterra as a tight end one. I would assume they draft a guy and then let those two guys kind of pair up as the pass catchers. Johnny Munt's your blocker, and then they hope that whoever you draft eventually just passes over Calcaterra. But you know Calcaterra can catch the football. So I'm not suggesting they think he's Dallas Goedert by any stretch of the imagination. Just that, hey, can you run routes, catch the football, get the sticks moving? Now, this is one thing that my buddy Nick Cattles points out. Now, Nick has been a longtime guy. He works for WEEI, or he has worked for WEEI Radio. I don't know if he's still there. I know he does a Patriots podcast now. He's done some national stuff on ESPN Radio. He tweeted this out. Now, connect these dots. He said, this is mostly for fun, but let's connect the dots. You ready? You're an overthinker, so let's get you thinking.
Sure. Why not? Well, I keep scrolling, look for more news updates.
By the way, Joel Embiid is playing tonight.
I just saw that he was out.
Did you?
Yeah. Austin Krell is who I saw.
Well, I showed you the video. Was she wrong?
I guess so.
Okay, well then Joel Embiid is out tonight.
Well, Krell says he's out.
Well, I mean, I know Krell's there. I don't know. We'll have to.
Well, the game's not tonight. It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the game. Yes, and Krell also pointed out that the Nets have like their whole roster out tomorrow.
Jeez.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, here we go. So the Sixers don't even play tonight, so Joel's out tonight.
He is. He's out tonight. Exactly. There we go. Problem solved. So draw.
Maybe the date on that video was old.
Draw me the thread.
I will.
Like it's the episode from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Charlie's going crazy over the conspiracy theories.
Okay.
You know the episode?
No.
It's a hilarious
but
episode.
I can play along. I mean,
you've probably seen the GIF for it. You ever see the GIF of the guy losing his mind with the board with the strings behind him?
Maybe if I saw it.
Okay.
It's not ringing a bell the way you're describing it here.
Someone out there on the text board, help me out at 609-403-0973.
All right, here's the thread. This is from my buddy Nick Cattles.
All right. What do you got, Nick?
Patriots, Eagles discussing A.J. Brown. Patriots say Philly's asking price is too high. Philly says we have no reason to give him up. Reports, New England looks like the only suitor for A.J. Brown. Philly says we have no reason to give him up. Patriots sign Romeo Doubs. Philly pushes back Dallas Goedert's void date to Friday. Multiple reports, it's New England or Philly for Brown. Garofolo, Philly pushes the date to Friday because of Brown talks. Friday morning, L.A. is now back in the Brown talks. Nick says his theory. Philly knows they have to trade Brown, and they are trying to get the Patriots to give up more in one last-ditch effort. How do you read it?
I read it like this. My mind goes back to this we played the other day from Tom Curran and Mike Girardi on NBC Sports Boston. So let's take what you said and contrast it with this.
It doesn't do Philly really any favors to make the deal now because of the massive hit that they take on their cap. So that's why I've kind of indicated this could take some time.
Who knows if this is a game of telephone, but talking to people who work in the league for teams, they all believe A.J. Brown's going to end up in New England. So I'm sort of with Tom, like this probably takes a little while. They've got the runway here. But to me, eventually, and now that you have Dobbs too, it's less of a, oh, you've got to give us the 1 and the 2. No, we have a good player who we think can be a number 1. How about a 2 and a 4? I think it's eventually going to get done.
Listen, he's not wrong. Nothing of what they said is wrong. Like that, and eventually, I don't know who's in the position of power at this point.
Right.
Because we don't know what A.J. Brown is saying behind closed doors because he has been eerily quiet.
He's been eerily quiet, 1. And 2, we know that there is already – is it really a relationship or it's just there is something between him and Mike Vrabel that we know of.
Oh, there's no question about that.
I don't know what we call it though. It's like
he played for him.
Yeah, but like they also have a very good like rapport, I guess you would call it, right?
Relationship, rapport, whatever you want to say. He played for Vrabel and really enjoyed playing for Vrabel. I think the whole Vrabel-Brown thing, they didn't want to give up on A.J. Brown. That was a terrible trade by them. They all knew it. Now, as Cattles points out, by the way, you can follow Nick. He's a good dude to follow. At Nick C Radio. I met Nick down at the Super Bowl a few years ago in Miami. We've stayed in touch. He says, what if Roseman wants to deal for Gennard from Minnesota and Minnesota has their own deadline? He said, that's why people acting like Roseman can do whatever the hell he wants are delusional. He doesn't have to trade Brown, but other teams have plans and deadlines. That's where I think the point he makes, we've talked about before, but I think it's a good point to bring up, that keep in mind, Philadelphia may not like their edge rushing situation, and they're making calls, and other teams might say, well, we have a deadline on ours. Why? Because we have a budget that we have to stick to. And that's why what Cattle says I think is interesting in this realm. Roseman can't do whatever he wants unless he knows that New England will be there on June 1st. At that point, he could say, I'll just hold on to him. And then at June 1st, the Patriots come crawling back, and at that point, the draft has already happened. That's when Roseman can say, I'll take a draft choice next year then. I want your first. So Roseman, like Cattles, this is where I don't agree with Cattles. He's saying Roseman can do whatever the hell he wants. He can. Because the worst-case scenario is I get A.J. Brown. Right. That's the worst-case scenario, right? The next case scenario is New England, because if I'm Howie Roseman, June 1st comes, I don't call New England, I see if New England calls me. If New England then calls me, what does that signify? That they want A.J. Brown.
Right.
I thought you were going to try to answer that question.
Sorry, I thought you were in the pregnant pause because you were doing it for the audience, not for me.
Yeah.
The world doesn't revolve around me, Mike Gill.
Well, I'm trying to include you in this conversation. I'm trying to be nice. So, Roseman, June 1st gets here. He doesn't call New England. They call him.
Right.
Now, Roseman knows they really want this guy.
Well, it's like
now my ask goes back to
yeah.
The draft is already over. I'll take your first-round pick next year.
Well, it goes back to the whole thing from Moneyball, remember? Where they're like, well, you called us. Remember that whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
Where they were like, he's negotiating, and they're like, no, you called us. You offer us a deal.
Exactly. So the Eagles are at this point where, again, worst-case scenario is they get, quote-unquote, stuck with A.J. Brown. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. You got, let's see, Ray in EHT says, I don't know why we are getting rid of Brown, who or was going to replace Brown in free agency of the draft. I just don't like it. I don't like this whole conversation. I know he's a problem behind the scenes. I don't know that he's a problem behind the scenes. Okay, a problem behind the scenes is you're getting in trouble. You are constantly tearing the locker room apart. You are turning sides against each other. I don't get that sense. When we had Cooper DeJean on and Reed Blankenship and Kobe Dean, these are all guys on the defensive side of the ball. Now, maybe on the defensive side of the ball, like, yo, that's my boy. I love AJ. Maybe the guys in the offensive room are saying something differently. That I can't verify. But there's a lot here. Keep an eye on the clock in terms of tonight with Dallas Goedert. 609-403-0973. All right, coming up, we do have the Big East tournament right here on 97.3 ESPN. You guys can get started on the weekend and everything.
You have any Happy Hour Friday picks for us real quick before we get out of here?
You know what? I do have Happy Hour Friday picks for you. I am going home. The gentleman, Jim in Egg Harbor Township, brought me the seed last week, and I am going to venture into the seed. I can't remember the name of them. They're in my house. They're in my fridge. But I will have a full report on those next week. By the way, speaking of the seed, they have a new one. It's a new batch of Earnest Intent, which is a 12. On the scale of 1 to 10, that would be a 12. Earnest Intent. It's back. Intent. If you are someone who goes to this seed, that is one that you will definitely be aware of, and they have it.
I got two for you really quick. I was at Obscura last weekend. B-Roll, one of their IPAs, very, very good. Also, they have a sour that is, the sour is called Kissing Pavement.
Kissing Pavement. Okay, I'm going to pass on doing that in real life, but I'll try the beer. I'm not a sour guy, though, so. All right, that's it for us today. A little out early today on the Big East tournament. Big game, St. John's and Seton Hall. We'll have that starting in 5 minutes. But first, let's get out of here with this. Caller 7 right now, 609-573-3776. And since we're getting out of here early today, we're going to add some bonus entries right now, 609-573-3776. So hang on to the line. We'll get to you and get you entered for our Phillies watch party at the Anchorage in Summers Point. You must be present to win on March 26th for opening day. We want you to come out, wear your Phillies gear, and I will be giving away a trip to see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards in Baltimore. We're going to do some bonus entries right now. Caller 7, you're in. Hang on to the line. We'll get as many people signed up right now as we can on a special Happy Hour Friday bonus edition, Big East Tournament edition.